Microsoft Windows and Xbox
let's
One.
start before we start
there you
doing it,
go.
because we're technically already streaming. I just want to
Windows
get this
tied,
going.
which makes sense.
Yeah, we'll tell them like in a minute here. B3 GamingCast, episode 69. And yeah, Janzer as always, and we've got Phil and Graham.
Hey.
They were just talking about Crackdown.
Hi.
Crack house?
Sure.
Go ahead.
Yeah, my audio just cut out on me on my hearing end. That was weird. But yeah, Crackdown.
So yes, apparently it's coming out for PC, but it's delayed. So, Graham, you were saying?
Yeah. So Windows and through the Microsoft stuff and whatever. Yeah, it's delayed into next year. It's going to miss the Xbox One X launch. But yeah, originally I think it was supposed to be early November this year. It got pushed back.
Wasn't it supposed to come out late last year too? I'm sure you saw something about it coming out.
I don't know. I don't follow it.
Why are we talking about Crackdown anyway?
Because it's on my list.
What's like interesting about it?
A lot of people are really into that series on Xbox and stuff.
Is that the one that had like really difficult achievements? Is that the reason why people care about it?
No. People originally gave a shit about it because the Halo 3 beta was attached to buying Crackdown 1. That's the whole reason why anybody even gave a shit about Crackdown in the first place. But you're like a super agent and you collect orbs or whatever, collectibles. There's a shit ton of collectibles. It's probably why you might know anything about it.
Yes.
It's an excessive amount of collectibles, but the collectibles power you up. So you get to be like super ridiculous where you can like charge a jump and you can jump from like the street level to like 30 to 50 stories up into the air type of thing. So you can just like super launch yourself across multiple skyscrapers and stuff. So people enjoyed like the mechanics and stuff of it. But yeah, and Saints Row 4 like directly copies Crackdown-esque gameplay with all the superpowers. So
yeah, I remember people complaining about the mechanics actually, but I just remember it like having really difficult, like kind of ridiculous things to get achievement wise. Yeah, that's really the primary thing.
But yeah, I mean, I don't think they're difficult other than it's tedious.
Well, I don't really take what you say when it comes in terms to
difficulty
I mean, the same anymore the way I would other people.
Collecting stuff is not a skill. It's a test of
but the mechanics of the movement is what I'm referring to. So because I know like some of the things were like on ridiculously high, like the top of a building or in between building, so it's more movement, not like walking forward and stepping into a collectible. That's
true.
Yeah.
Although, I mean, the game lets you jump so fucking high.
Then I don't know.
I don't think there's any difficulty. I think it's the absurdity of the amount, because there was in the first game there was 500 agility orbs, which were the ones that were on top of buildings and stuff.
Gotcha.
500 is a lot. So
all I know is there was big hype because they had Terry Crews in the promo for it. That last
Crackdown 3
that they had. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then they showed footage of it, and people were like, "Oh, it's like shit."
Yeah,
and
I don't know.
It's kind of like, so we're gonna delay this game.
I've had like 3 people who I didn't even know played the series be like, "Oh man, I hope they don't, delay it," or "Oh my god, they're delaying it," and I'm like, I don't even know. I didn't know people gave a shit, but people do apparently. So I was like, that's probably interesting thing for some people who might actually care, especially since it is on 2 platforms via Microsoft Windows. So, but yeah. So that game, which the series I've never really cared for, is delayed, so you can't play it till next year. And it originally having planned to be a Xbox One X launch will not be there either. So that's that.
Oh well. I don't know. Hopefully they'll fix stuff up and make it an enjoyable game for those who really want to play it.
No.
You go from there.
True, possibly.
It's not on my wish list, but you know, I'll accept promo keys from anyone.
I played the first two. I have no intention of playing the third.
So, as someone who's actually played like the first two games, was there like anything worth shouting about, or was it just like, all right, it's okay game?
Damn, that was a really good transition I wanted to make when you said promo keys, but we'll keep talking about Crackdown, which apparently none of us gives a shit about. Yeah.
I don't know. I played it. It lets you do stuff that's absurd and you feel super powered and whatever. It just doesn't appeal to me, but other people like it. So, yeah.
Okay.
Kind of like promos. Some people give a shit and other people don't. There you go, Janzer.
The keys that Phil was talking about, apparently, okay, so I read this thing about apparently Steam trying to crack down, right, on large batches of keys that developers are requesting for free. So basically, if I'm a developer and let's say on Steam Greenlight, right, I could put up a game on Steam for free, and I could say, all right, I need 500,000 keys because I need to promote my game, and Steam's like, sure, we'll take that hit. We'll take that hit of not getting money off of those because you're going to give these away for free or sell them on an external site like, you know, Green Man or, you know, Humble Bundle or Gyro Games, whatever it is, because they do that too. Steam's fine with that. They're actually fine with that. They're like, that's fine. Not a problem. But then people were doing like what I said. Let's say I put up a game on Steam Greenlight, which is gone now because they were exploiting it in a number of ways. And then I make a bunch of bot accounts to give those keys to, and I get a bunch of like Steam, those stupid cards or whatever that you can sell. Yeah, that's actually a way that people are exploiting the system. How convolutedly, difficultly you have to make a game, which we found can be apparently quite easy if you just rip assets from other things and steal them. But still, that takes an amount of effort to do. Just to get Steam card trading card sales, just to exploit that. Doesn't that just seem like a waste of fucking energy and time? It just seems so stupid, the amount of effort to go into that. So that's why Steam did that whole thing about like, okay, we're going Steam Direct now. You got to pay minimum $100 to get your game in. And the next thing is like they said in very extreme cases, which they are going to, you know, look at, not just have a bot determine. We're gonna find out whether or not your sales are actually worth. Let's say I put a game out, I sell 10,000 copies, and I ask for 500,000 keys. Steam's going to say, yeah, probably not. Probably no. You know, you're not really doing the numbers to kind of warrant that. And that's all suspect. So we're gonna say no. So I thought that was really interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just
guessing they're still gonna give out keys, just not to the level that they used to.
Yeah. Once again, they're gonna look at specific like cases that lie outside of the norm. Like I said, if I'm a developer that's sell 10,000 copies and I ask for like 500,000 copies for free to give out, that's a red flag. Like, all right, what's going on here? Let's just look into this. So I'm guessing they're going to have something in their system that, first off, looks at these numbers and red flag certain things, and then a human being, is going to actually look at that, which is very rare for Steam to actually do.
Yeah. I find it kind of odd that people would get away with that kind of stuff, like getting so many keys to pull off that, because those cards don't sell for much.
Yeah.
I mean, some cards for some games might sell for a little bit more than others, but you got to do a lot of cards.
That's what I'm saying. It's such an amount of effort to go through to do that. It's so...
But you know what? They probably realized how automated Steam was and just said, you know what? We could just game this. So,
and apparently they did in a number of ways.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing, building fake hype, for games too.
Yeah. Come on. Steam reviews are the most legit reviews ever. Come on.
Yeah.
Yeah, they had an issue with that too, where the promo keys that were given out, they kind kind of like made people or paid people or something for people to give good reviews. So then they said anything that's a promo key review is not going to be listed with the other reviews. Like you're going to see it like as a separate thing.
Right.
So I was like, geez, man.
It almost shouldn't affect the value of the review either. I feel.
No.
It should have its a totally separate thing. Like the meta or whatever, you know, like overwhelmingly that kind of stuff. I hope it doesn't.
Yeah. I think, well, the way they're set up, no, it doesn't. But it used to.
Good. That's good.
Yeah, man. It's just all these game developers have no honor. Wink, wink.
Yeah. I'm kind of leaving it open for you guys to like throw subjects in there too. So,
why did you say it that way, Phil? What are you trying to get at? You know, what was that for?
What's that all about?
Well, there was a kind of a dishonorable tournament recently, you know, with For Honor.
Would you say the
developers
developers
the entire tournament just throwing people off of ledges? Because I would watch that. I would go back and watch that if that's literally what it was.
Well, that's actually supposed to be
actually part of the mechanics of the game.
Exactly, which is why I love it. All duels, just who can guard break and throw the other guy off faster. That would be amazing to me.
Yeah, no, as annoying as that is, that's not quite what it was.
So what happened, Phil?
Well, yeah, basically For Honor had a recent tournament to, I guess, you know, like promote the game. And, well, to cut to the chase, the guy that won it hadn't played the game in like 2 weeks before entering the tournament. And he also used him, as well as a bunch of other people in the earlier stages of the tournament, were using exploits to win matches in the tournament. And they just let it happen. And these were known exploits that have been happening for months before this tournament that just happened. That was last week or this week. It was.
Yeah, to fill in some details, Jakub, it's Jakub, so I'm guessing he's like Swedish or something. Who knows? Jakub,
or part bear,
aka SB.Alernakin, Palen, not Sarah, Palen, won by taking advantage of the character, specifically Nobushi, already known to be a piece of shit, fucking whatever type of player, and a unlock technique. Yeah, which basically when you're not locked onto a character, the recovery time for the attacks were none. There was no recovery time. So you could just spam the fast attacks of Nobushi repeatedly, and just there's nothing the other person could do. Wow. They could not get out of it because everything takes some kind of recovery or animation, but there was nothing. It was just a constant destruction. So, and he won absolutely every single round from the beginning all the way to the end.
and you would think that knowing that exploit exists and somebody using it, they'd be like, all right, you're gonna replay this match, and if you use that exploit, or every time somebody, because there were other exploits people were using, but that was like one of the most well-known ones.
Right.
If you use this exploit again, you are disqualified, and that person moves forward to the next round.
Right.
To me, that seems like the more logical approach to do it, but they just allowed him to just go through the whole tournament, do that, went on stage to present the winning trophy and the money that he won.
Wearing aviators.
Yep.
Nice.
And told him,
cue Top Gun music. Sorry.
Yep. They said, you're not going to be able to win like this shortly in the future. And he laughs with them. They all laugh when the top people say it. And then he says, please don't change it. Don't take my exploit out of the game. Literally said that to them while on stage. Like, you can hear, everybody heard this.
Like verbatim, did he use the word exploit?
Yeah. He said, please don't take it out of the game.
Oh, okay. I was like, because if you're labeling it exploit, that's even more of a degree of hilarity to me.
I can't remember what the actual
implication of it
said.
Not quite as funny, but still absurd.
Yeah. I'm not sure what the presenter said, but he did state specifically.
Well, it was either the lead developer or the creative director. It was one of those. He wasn't just like a presenter. It was a guy that works like one of the top dogs. And he said, "You're gonna you're gonna have to change your tactics pretty soon." You got
Mr. us Rogers. This time, but I'm not, no.
Oh, you rascal. Here's your 10,000.
Exactly. That's hilarious to me.
Though. It was reported as 10,000, but it was 2,000. People got it wrong.
What?
I heard it was reported as $10,000 that he won.
Yeah, because that's 2,000. What it said in. Wow. Okay, that's weird.
Pretty
that's
big
a pretty
jump there.
Big difference. Yeah.
Someone doesn't know their vowels or consonants. It starts with a T. I think it was 10. Motherfucker, it's 2!
Either way, that's $2,000 for spamming.
Bravo to that guy.
Yeah, I could use that money.
That is hilarious to me, though. I don't even know why that's so funny to me, but it is.
It's funny because it's ridiculous. It's so ridiculous that it shouldn't have happened. It's like saying, okay, this is going to be a wrestling competition for 6-year-olds. And then I join 205 pounds, 5'10", and just destroy them.
You're right.
And I'm like, suck it, kids. Go back, eat your bottles. Wait, what? You don't eat bottles.
I picture you just holding like toddler by the forehead and laughing at them and then just shoving them to the ground with one hand.
One by a leg and the other by an arm and swinging them whirlwind style, standing in one spot and spinning around and just
like
letting
human
them go.
flails.
Just
and
launching them.
Smashing other kids.
Yeah, just launching them off into the fucking audience. Oh my
God. I'm just going to say, right, when you put yourself in that situation and came up with that, scenario, there's a movie called Bad Words by Jason Bateman, where he's this grown-ass man entering spelling bees with little kids and winning and beating them. Oh, and it's real disgusting because he found an exploit that he was still able to go back in and win. So I just thought of that, like, that was a hilarious film, just by the way. And I just think you going in and just body slamming kids.
Oh, yeah.
Just screaming over them.
That's ridiculous and hilarious.
Stay down!
However, I feel like that very aptly represents For Honor.
I agree.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
it's like perfect, like poetry in an awful way.
And apparently, you can do that same attack, like that same thing. And what's funny is, I remember when I first played the closed beta or whatever, I realized, if you unlock, you actually get some better hits in because the other characters can't really block it very well. And that's exactly what it was. I didn't realize it was an exploit back then. I was just like, this has got to be some kind of technique, right? Because if you don't play Nobushi, some of the characters have slower attacks. What it does with those characters is it actually makes them a bit more viable. So, like, I like to play the Knight character, the basic Vanguard or whatever, I think is what
Warden.
It is.
Yeah.
Warden, there you go, Warden. And she doesn't have exactly the fastest. She had one fast attack, but I mean, once again, it did come down to like abusing it too. And I don't tend to abuse exploits at all. So I remember using a couple times and thinking that's really easy, and then just going back to like, all right, I'll use that if I feel like I'm really getting in a bad place and I need to kind of get some damage. I'll unlock. It's a strat. It wasn't I'm going to do this like, the entire time to avoid any kind of challenge. It was more like oh shit, let me push this guy off a cliff, that kind of thing. Which even then, if you do that, you're cheesing it, so.
Yeah. And that guy cheesed his way through the whole tournament.
Right, it's like the ladder thing.
Rewarded for it. It's like the ladder thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You could slide down on them trying to climb up, and they knock them down, and they would take damage from falling, and you could just keep doing that. And this game is full of bullshit.
Oh my god.
Yep.
No honor. That's what I should rename the game as. No honor.
I feel like they did something with the timing too. I just, when I played it again, I just had the hardest time properly blocking, where when the first time I played it, I didn't have that issue. And this time around, I played with keyboard, mouse, and controller, same as I did the first time. And I just constantly had this one issue between switching from directional guarding. Let's say I'm blocking to the left, and you're not always going to know where the block's going to come from. So if the attack's going to come from, it comes from the top. My thoughts are you should be able to switch to that top guard in the span of like seeing the animation begin of the player attacking, because that's a normal thing. You're not always going to be like, okay, I'm in top guard position, go ahead and launch your top attack. You know, that's not what other players do. They're not like, oh, he's in top guard position, let me strike him in the head because he's blocking up. That's perfect. No, they're going to strike you at whatever angle you're not trying to block, or they're going to try to guard break you. For some reason, I could just not get into that, you know, transition from one to another. I could do it sometimes, but not. I don't know. I know they've done balance tweaks and whatnot, and I know that one of them came from like them saying that the defensive play of the game was too difficult. So I'm curious as to that's one of those things that they adjusted. So yeah, because people were turtling before, you know.
Yeah, I do remember hearing about that.
Yeah. But yeah, this game's had a lot of problems.
Yeah.
It's a lot of problems. I'll buy it for $5 maybe. Probably not, actually. I feel sour after the last time I played it. I just got my ass whooped. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll be honest though, it did look kind of like people were discovering certain little exploits or just combos that would always work. Like you were playing against a samurai guy or something, guy with a sword, and he would just, as soon as you do an attack, he would just
they have very specific things that they do.
Yeah, just back you and just stab you. And I'm like, so you can just keep doing that to every move, because he was just constantly repeating it and doing it till he beat your life down, and then he just hit you and kill you in a normal way. And I was like, that's not fun.
Well, you know, I took that as very standard fighting game entry.
That's exactly what I think about.
Yeah. There are certain things you do in fighting games that if you can't beat the infinite fireballs guy, then you haven't progressed. You're not ready for the next level. You got to learn how to beat the cheesers at the bottom.
I didn't play many fighting games, but I think it was maybe Tekken 3 or something. There was some guy who was very ripped off of Bruce Lee, and he did this flippy backwards kick, and people would just spam that kick over and over again.
Yep.
Yeah, and that's what I thought of immediately in my brain. Oh, that one guy's doing that one OP move or whatever over and over again until you learn how to counter that.
Exactly.
You're just like entry level.
Yep. Yeah, I played that one ninja guy once. If I had kept getting if I had more of a chance to keep playing against him, I would have eventually figured out what the timing that I needed to stop that.
Right.
But in the moment of a guy that's been doing that specific attack and he's got it down, and I remember him asking me, "Oh, are you in for the free whatever weekend?" You know, like this is a guy that probably, you know, learned day one or whatever. So yeah, it wasn't going to be a challenge. So,
yeah. I recall going into arcades. Yeah, back then, you know, I'm that old, and seeing like Street Fighter like for the first time, and then guys, because you know everybody was now learning the game, and it was a big big hit, and there were people that would just use the short jabs or the short kicks.
Yep.
And they would just
low kick.
Yep. And as soon as you try to come in for move, they would just keep hitting you with that. And they would do it until they beat you. They wouldn't even do like a uppercut, nothing, you know, all you can. Nope, just kick. Or you jump, kick. And I was like, that's some bullshit. But then, you know, obviously people realized, oh man, I could just counter this way. And then it was like they couldn't use that strategy anymore. But for like a day or two, you know, they were the kings. You know, they were dominating.
Yep.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't know that their whole comeback there didn't seem very great. I don't know what the future of that game holds. You know, but they did release 2 new characters.
True.
Yeah. I mean, well, for me personally, that's right there on the list for Crackdown 3. Like nowhere on me.
Yeah.
Main line of sight. I don't really care. I mean, you enjoy it.
I do. You know, I do. Yeah. Like if I played it for free, I'd be frustrated with it, but I'd play it because I like a challenge. And what's weird, I'm a masochist. I really am. What's weird is like, because to me that is not a game that should be that difficult to get into and play. And because I kept hitting that wall so quickly, that just makes me want to like fight harder. That doesn't make me like, oh, I'm going to put this down forever. No, that gets me angry. And then I'm like, fine, I'm going to try all these different strats, you know, or whatever it is, or perfect my timing. Just keep getting hit and keep blocking. Like when I was playing it, anytime that I was getting close to a win, I would stop attacking and I would say, okay, I need to work on my defense, so I'm going to let them strike me. So if I lose, I fucking lost. You know, I'm not going to win because I just kept constantly attacking. You know, I need to be able to learn how to block too. So that would happen. And of course I would lose.
Stuff like that. It's stuff like that convinces me that you would have been one of Pioneer's greatest students.
If I had like about 5 lifetimes.
No matter how many times he beats you with that stick, you can just keep trying.
Dude, that's how I grew up. It's the worst.
Push again. Push again.
Yeah, pretty much. I'm trying to look up the names of the characters. I actually think one of them is named Vanguard. I could be wrong. I know one's a Viking.
Vanguard is the class of the starter. That's what it's called.
Okay.
So the Warden is a Vanguard. Whatever the other 2 ones are. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a new one. Yeah, Vanguard's a class. I don't know why I keep forgetting that. But there is a new Viking and there's a new ninja guy, I believe.
Knight and ninja. And
Knight and ninja? Okay.
Yeah, the Knight guy looks like a Roman soldier. It's
yeah,
really
they
weird.
said one of them is really easy to play. So it's intended for people that are, you know, probably intended for me. And then the other one's a bit more difficult, but has quite a lot of damage on him. But he's not very straightforward.
I think he was called Shinobi, if I'm not mistaken, and he has like the dual commas or whatever.
Gotcha.
Yeah, the Viking is the one that's missing the extra
Shinobi.
character or whatever.
There he is. I think the other one may be Centurion because of
that's the one.
Season 2. Okay, I remember fighting that guy, and he was fucking hard. He was constantly just attacking, just repeatedly, and he just whooped the shit out of me. So, looked really fun, but I mean, yeah, beat the living crap out of me as a bot. No, I don't think a person played him, but it was a bot. Anyway, yeah, that's For Honor. Left for Dead. Honor. Dead Honor. I do have something here, since we're talking about new characters. Rainbow Six Siege's new character was teased, apparently, in a video. And of course,
I did see that.
Yeah. Somebody on Reddit apparently picked up on the video, and they're like, well, okay, it's a female. It's Hong Kong map. The character's name is Ying. And because they put out an official teaser, but I guess somebody else got some more like footage. They're like, she rolls a ball under a door. But then
that's part of the teaser.
Yeah, okay, that's part of it. It's
only 16 seconds long.
I don't know what it was. I think they saw an effect or something like that, and they said it's probably like a multiple flashbang kind of thing, that ball. And you know what that reminded me of? The Division. When you have your Seeker Mine and you roll it out there, and it does like gas effect or whatever, or burns people.
I could see it because the design and so forth of the little ball grenade thing does semi remind me of like a Seeker. Did you get? I'm guessing you didn't see it, Jan. You just read about it. Phil, did you look at it?
I'm looking at it right now.
Okay, so the ball that she holds, it looks like your standard like very round, smooth grenade. So a sphere that's smooth, and then it's got like around the equator basically is like tread, like it Jack, like it would roll on like, there, and it's got like a little blinky circle on it, and it blinks green, and then it's blinking yellow, and then you see it roll on the tread underneath the door, and that's it.
It looks like a cricket ball. I don't know if any of y'all ever seen cricket, but
I'm gonna maybe see it in this video here. But yeah, I've seen it before.
I could assume that either it has some sort of tracking or whatever, but like free movement,
right? Or
maybe you control the movement. Not sure. Or maybe it just has like an extended amount of movement, but it has some sort of, obviously smart chip or some type of mechanism timing, something on it, and it clearly has the ability to roll a significant amount of distance.
It looks like it splits open because there's a line down the middle. There's actually like
of the tread or whatever.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. It looks like it could split open maybe, or maybe that is literally just the movement and that's it.
But either way, like when the multi-frag, multi-flash, whatever, all those things seem extremely believable. And when you said possibly Seeker Mine, I was like, I could see that. But
my thing is, I just want to play the Division in a first-person mode, and that would be amazing. Like kind of the way you would play Siege. Give me some levels that I can go storm, and just like Siege, and really just the Division in first-person mode. I think that would be interesting. That's all.
Nice.
Yeah. They're doing it for PubG, right? You have first-person player servers already up.
Mm-hmm. Yep, that's true.
Be the first person to murder everyone.
Yeah, all I have about PubG is that what you have too, Phil, which is they've sold 7 million copies and they surpassed 600,000 concurrent users, where some games only have like 3,000 concurrent users if they're lucky. They have 600,000.
Fascinating.
And on top of that, they dominated watch hours in Twitch. Like the first game, and I can't remember how long this is, but to actually knock League of Legends off the number 2 spot, most watched game on Twitch, which is a huge achievement, because anytime you go looking at Twitch and you look and see what's the top view games, it's always Dota, it's always League of Legends.
Right. Overwatch
game comes in between that. Yeah.
Overwatch is not always the first, actually, but they have definitely got up pretty high. I think when they first released, they were taking first place for a little bit.
Yeah, I think Overwatch, got up there in terms of the most amount of views, but not the most amount of watched hours. Because you can have a lot of viewers, but the amount of hours that people are actually watching gameplay is that's like player retention, people sticking around and watching stuff. So, and it's not like they even beat them by just like a small margin. I mean, it might seem like a small margin when you look at the graph, but they had 16.9 million views while League of Legends had, 15 million. So that's like a whole almost 2 million more hours of viewership. That's a lot of hours.
Yeah, especially since it just came out, relatively recently. And
it's also not a competitor to those games. It's not a MOBA game. And MOBA tends to just dominate the Twitch viewership market, and this is not a MOBA game, and it just boom skyrocket up there. I don't know. I wonder how close it actually would have been to Dota 2, because the reason Dota 2 was still on top is because they actually had their tournament, their International 7 event, which is a big tournament. They got millions of dollars into that. I mean, they even had I don't know if you all saw any of the stuff on that, but they had whenever you had the character select section, where one team would choose a character, then they would say, oh no, you can't choose this character.
Right. Yeah.
They actually had holographic images of the heroes come up on the stage in between the two teams.
Oh wow.
It's like,
they're projecting,
and not just holographic. I mean, they were holographic and they were moving, so there wasn't like just a hologram just comes up of a still thing. They were actually like moving. Yeah, holographic character. That's gotta be a ton. I don't like. They just got money to burn.
They brought Tupac to life.
Yeah.
Tupac.
Dota 2.
I said Tupac. I was actually thinking of the Gorillas, how they do their stuff. Remember how they have like, projected characters or whatever.
Yep. But yeah. So I mean, they were up at like 30 million plus. So, their tournament, lots of viewership. But yeah, PUBG, personally, I just don't really see how it's up there, but people seem to like it. So
I have some insight to that. There was an article that was talking about wasting time in video games, and like which video games waste your time, and which developers are conscious about your time being valuable, which I think is what it is. I can see both sides, and I'm like, okay, fair enough. But they say that PUBG does a really good job of not wasting your time, because the games are between 20 and 30 minutes, and everything that happens is very subjective to me, what they were saying, but everything that happens in there is what you want to happen. I'm like, not if you die, but whatever, You know, I think what it is more people that play that are more after the experience itself, less the reward, possibly. You know, who knows?
Yeah. It's very subjective, but like, I think for them, their interpretation is at no point are you not playing the game in that game. Whereas some people would be like, well, in some games, you're traveling a lot and you're not doing anything. But inherently, you could also argue the exact same thing happening in that game. But
that was part of the article.
What is or isn't interesting. Yeah, like, running over to that house and opening doors and grabbing stuff is you playing the game, just like walking down through a forest to pick up a treasure chest in another game is still playing the game. But you might not value one, but you'll value the other.
I can relate to that. Like it's interesting. As a crafter, I would have to go from one part of a city to another, and then to another city. And I honestly did find the travel tedious.
And it is tedious.
But
opening doors, I could also say, I hate opening doors, and therefore I find that tedious in PubG. So again, all those criteria.
Well, the amount of time per action is really the difference there. But the thing is,
it's true.
As a gamer, and I don't think this has anything to do with me as a gamer. You know, for better or worse, I like to say, well, when I was in an office, at least I like to say, I was like, you know, I'm actually a very lazy worker, and that would pick up people's attention really quick. They're like, wait, what do you? What? Why would you say this? You know? I was like, well, let me explain. My laziness has turned me into a seeker of efficiency. I want to be able to use my time as efficiently as possible to get done whatever I need to. So I'll go out of my way to find, ways to cut down on repetitive tasks or find better paths to, an efficient end goal versus, doing whatever it is for 5 hours and getting so much done. I'd rather get all this other stuff done, So I don't want to work that hard. I will absolutely put a lot of time in to the work that I do, and it ends up being the same sum of amount of energy. I still will work hard, but the return I get is greater. But I have to hook them with the I'm lazy, because everything behind it is kind of boring, And I think that as a gamer, that's what that translates for me too. And efficient gamers are like that too. They're like, okay, well, don't travel from spot to spot. What you do is you have to do this and you have to build this. And I know it takes time, but in the end, you're going to be able to do all these things without having to go through all that other trouble and whining about it. But that's logical and efficient and rational gamers that treat games, in that way. And they kind of cut out a lot of their woes about certain things,
Invest in this in game and then you can cut out this entire thing because you're bypassing it now. Blah, 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 blah. But
yeah. But I think PUBG is very boiled down to very specific, simple things. And that's actually very good that they're focusing on only those actions so they can perfect them.
Yep.
Yeah. In terms of viewership, anything can happen at any time in that game. So when people are doing the monotony type things, you're always like, something could happen here. So that nature of chaos or potential danger at all times is also what makes it entertaining.
That's what I remember you saying about Count Chocula's stream when he would play baseball. It's like, it's not that the game is entertaining. It's the fact that you don't know what's going to happen. Maybe he actually will hit a home run, but odds are he's going to keep digging a hole.
And that when he spectrum of possibility is what makes it more interesting. That's why when you watch someone who's god awful at a game, it's not as interesting because they're always going to perform the same way. Just like if someone's super good at a game, sometimes it's not interesting because you're like, oh yeah, they're killing everything. Nothing's a challenge, so there's no conflict, so it's boring. So yeah, I think so. That's a big part of it. The only part of that game at all, which is really boring and unappealing, but still has its own nature of creativity and interest, is the lobby before a game starts. I find that place awful and boring and full of lots of awful loud noises. Other people have fun in that like 2 minutes that they have to wait before they launch, because it lets you kind of play the game while you're waiting to play the real game. So, yeah. But the game does perform well at giving you something to do at all times, which is giving you the potential to outperform and achieve your goal in the end, which is like, I'm going to sprint over here and get loot. Oh my God. Anybody could kill me anytime. So, yeah. So, as a constant, like, adrenaline of danger, but also urgency, always.
I get that.
Another thing that it has too is that it creates a lot of stories, because there's so many different ways to die, so many ways to kill people, that people will be like, oh man, I rode my motorbike up the hill and I jumped off and I killed these two guys, and and the next person will be like, oh, you did that? Well, guess what I did, man? I was hiding in the bushes and these guys just walked right next to me and stood up and just chilled, and I was like, nah, fuck that, and they got up and hit them with the frying pan. And, it's like there's so much.
Or my friend was going in reverse on his ATV and ran me over and I died.
Yeah.
There's so many ways to die or
blame Andrew.
Yeah, blame Andrew. That's exactly what it was.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So yeah, I think that adds to it as well too.
Yeah, I think that. I still think the biggest strength is its ability to group up and all that, and what people get out of that. But yeah, it's a solid game, clearly. Otherwise, people wouldn't bother. Absolutely. And at the end of the day, I can't really criticize it too much, because I really enjoyed survival in The Division, which right now I think the survival's free for the weekend for people that don't have that DLC.
That's neat.
Yeah, I mean, you guys remember I was really into it for a little while there.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I wanted to perfect the run.
Oh, big time.
And then I wanted to perfect the run with other people.
You perfected the run by yourself. You wanted to perfect it with you and one other person. You said, I gotta get with 3. No, I gotta get with 4 people in total. Yeah, you were heavily invested in that. And you pulled it off. So
yep, I think it was Hannibal from the A team. That's my favorite guy.
Yeah. But I think that that also kind of became a little bit predictable, because everything had set locations. So that's where the difference will come in with PUBG, where it's like, nah, you could drop here and you could get a shit ton of loot, or you could drop same place and get nothing.
That's correct. That's correct. It became very predictable, because I knew exactly where everything was. Yeah. Identified the shapes of everything. Granted, you could still do that. I remember I was listening to people playing PUBG, and one of them was like, well, we go to this town because what's going to happen is there's a potential for like one vehicle to spawn there that we could, they knew spawn points. But like you said, it wasn't always that it would actually occur, so
yep,
you weren't always going to find those. Whereas in The Division, there was always bags that were in specific spots that I remember. So I can see them in my head now. Yeah. But yeah, PUBG doing well. It will continue to do well. I know the only other thing I have about that I remember is, it's not in notes, but that they said they're going to slow down on their updates because they want to focus more on quality. So.
Yeah, it makes sense. I mean, they also trying to get it out for Xbox as well, I think before the end of the year. So they need to lock that stuff down before they add new content.
Yeah. Yeah, I just want to throw this in there. I know Overwatch. Well, go ahead. What were you going to say about PUBG?
No. I was actually going to change the topic, so go ahead.
Oh, yeah. Since we brought up Overwatch briefly, apparently a modder made like a zombie mode, but when I read about it, it's not necessarily zombie mode. It's more like a version of what they used to do in Halo, where they would kind of like create rule sets saying like, okay, I'm a zombie, and if I touch you, you now become a zombie too. So, and that's apparently, people are trying to organize that. You can go to a website and sign up for this mode and everything like that. It doesn't actually change the visuals of anything. It's more of a agreed upon rule set, I believe. There might be actually some changes in the game, but I didn't know that you could even mod Overwatch, actually.
I didn't think so either.
Yeah, I assumed it being Blizzard or whatever that it would have been pretty incompatible.
Yeah. Graham, do you happen to know what I mean with Halo and a zombie mode? I've heard people talk about it before.
I'm trying to think of like an actual thing besides like mod
It's a name,
stuff.
and they don't call it zombie mode. They call it something else. But let me see if I can.
In the ODST, they added some mode that was like a wave defense one, and I'm kind of blanking on what that's called.
Infection,
and they continued.
apparently.
Yes, I know what you're talking about. That is a custom game mode.
Yes, that's correct.
Yes. Okay. Yes.
That's
totally
what this guy's doing.
That.
It's a custom game mode too.
Yeah, zombie. You'd have players that were infected, and they would have energy swords, and then all the other players would be humans with shotguns, and then when you got killed as a human, you became a zombie until there was one human left, and or they died. That's correct.
Yeah, exactly.
That took me a long time ago to remember that. Thanks. Okay.
Yeah, so it's not an actual mod; it's a custom game. That's what it is, which goes back to that whole literal role playing, game is what they're turning it into. Because, like with Halo, you had a sword. You didn't actually look different. You were just, it's people wanting to do something more with the game is what it is.
Which happens all the time.
Mm-hmm.
I've sat down and watched. Who was it? Was it Volts and somebody else and Eddie or something where they were playing hide and seek in same Rainbow Six Siege.
Yeah.
And it actually looked like fun.
Yeah. Yeah, if you have anything that ties into that, my topics are totally separate. They don't tie into anything about Overwatch, PubG, nothing like that.
No, my only switch was back when we were talking about, giving people stuff to do, making games shorter, more condensed. I was thinking about, Paragon updates.
Oh, that's a big one though. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Before we get into that, I kind of want to get rid of like some small ones real quick, just before we get into like big topics. I did see Hellblade came out with a new patch, Hellblade Senua's Sacrifice, which apparently fixed a lot of issues, and they mentioned kind of something like I believe what Jim Sterling was talking about, which areas that you could potentially get stuck in and then not progress properly. But they also mentioned that they're not done either, that they're going to continue to put out patches and updates for the game moving forward. So I was like, that's good. That's good. That's good development. That's proper. I appreciate that. And that's pretty much all I got on that. I don't think anybody in B3 has played it yet, or I could be wrong, but I haven't heard about anybody.
Not.
Yeah.
No, not yet. Well, I haven't.
Yeah. Middle-earth, Shadow of Wars, Shelob. Okay, so this is a silly one. Apparently, I don't know how familiar you all are with Tolkien and, Middle-earth and all that stuff, but there's a big old spider, right? And
I think it's pronounced Shelob, though. But I don't know.
Yeah, Shelob, whatever. When you read the books, they don't give you pronunciations, all right? So all I knew, Shelob, right? So way back in towards like closer to like Mount Doom, there's really corrupted things and corrupted areas, and Shelob is near like that zone, right? And basically, I'm going from memory here in books, not from like anything written, like in an article. I remember Frodo, I believe, or
he was captured by it.
Yeah, and Sam Frodo had to save him. So, and it's a spider. It's a spider, is what it is. Very corrupt spider. That's like the spawn of like another kind of like demigod kind of spider called Ungoliant. This is Ungoliant or something like that. This is like stuff I'm reaching back in my brain for. But apparently in the game, though, in Shadow of War, they've turned the spider into a sexy woman.
Yeah.
Nice.
Funny bit that I saw in a video is like crawls down the wall as a spider, but then transforms into a woman.
Yes.
To communicate with you.
She apparently goes along with the character to like talk with the character on a mission or something like that, maybe. I didn't read too much about it. I just know that they have... Here we go. Let me bring it up. Shadow of War. Yeah, if you look up Shelob, Shelob, Shadow of War, you'll see what I mean. And her transformation doesn't look anything particularly menacing, or it's just a woman with very pale skin and dark hair wearing a black dress that's kind of like frayed at the thighs. You know, I'm sorry, what was that?
That's saying stereotypical kind of enchantress witch kind of look.
Yeah, like the evil enchantress look. Mm-hmm. Exactly. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And, you know, it's getting some flack that they did that because it's stupid. Is why. The books never, you know, that never happened in the books. You know, there was hints that the demigod or whatever of that this is a spawn of was able to transform, but once again, never in the books was it like this happened. This is purely for, look, we want to generate some interest from certain sectors of the gaming community. And, you know, it's just what it is. There's no real reason for it. They try to explain it away a few different ways. They're like, what it is Galadriel is actually a little bit deceptive in how she talks to the hobbits. And we want to show that Shelob, regardless of how evil she is, never really lies to them. Get the fuck out of here. That's, you know, that's not what the books were that's not what they're trying to push, okay? You're making your own narrative. At the same time, though, people have mentioned that Shadow of Mordor, Shadow of War, that they've really kind of gone off the rails regardless when it comes to, like, paying attention to exactly what happened in the books. So it's kind of okay. And given that, I'm like, I guess I agree, you know?
But what is interesting, though, is that the lead developer of the game said that they will actually want to tie back in what you do as a character into it being you creating like a delay and distracting Saruman. So it's kind of like, wait, hang on. So y'all want to separate, y'all want to go off the rails, but then y'all want to come back onto the rails again? Because like, it's like, no, to me, it's like, pick a direction. Because I honestly have no issue with them creating their own little lore, you know, outside of what it is, you know, like we're going to use
your... They want to tell a different story.
Yeah, which is fine, but to say that you're going to do that and then just also say, well, you know, he was actually a distraction so that Frodo and Sam could get into the... I was like, oh, no. Bullshit.
Yeah. Well, I know it's totally pandering, but reading or hearing about, you know, them trying to like justify it was like, okay. I mean, I guess they're also doing their due diligence and not backing down, which it would, to me, it would look worse if they were just like, you're right. No. If you're going to sell bullshit, sell the bullshit. I do agree with that. Because I think it would look worse if they're like, okay, we did do it because we thought it would bring in... No one's going to react positively to that. They're already reacting negatively. All that's going to do is make them even more...
I know it. Up. See, they are assholes.
Yeah, they're trying to pander to me. I love that Spider Woman. She's my new wife.
I jerked off to her 6 times, but damn it, it can't do it. No, bad. Nerd card.
Yeah. So
honestly, I don't have any issue with it. I mean, do whatever you want to do. It's their story.
Yeah. So at the end of the day, I also don't really care. I think it's kind of silly, but like I said, bringing it back to the whole thing that they're kind of creating their own narrative as it is, was like, nah. I mean, okay, you know, that's fine, I guess. But somebody's internet's worked up and whatnot. That is what it is. What are you gonna do, right?
Yeah. So honestly, I think if you weren't that worked up, over the first game, then you shouldn't be worked up over this, because
it's true.
The first game went off the rails from the get go.
Oh yeah.
So it's like, oh, come on, you think they're gonna try to pull it back on this one? No, come on. They're going to double down on that and snort some crack and go even further.
Wow. Okay. Fair enough.
Just saying.
Yeah, no, I can see. I don't know about the crack snorting part, but definitely. Well, they're telling their own narrative, so that's
somebody was snorting crack out there, and they decided to add microtransactions to that game. So
yeah, can you talk about that? That wasn't around last week. We didn't really. I think we talked about it a little bit, maybe, but something. Is there more briefly to that story? It seems like it's getting worse for some reason.
Well, basically, because the developers did a live stream showing the whole thing, and it's going to be all like loot boxes, and the loot boxes are going to give you.
Is it like, loot boxes or orc boxes? I heard something about orc boxes.
Well, it's just being termed as loot boxes because Overwatch, everything is now loot boxes, and that's it. Because you buy something, but you're not buying anything specifically. You're buying the chance at getting something, so it just opens up, and you get either a gear for yourself, you'd get orcs that could fight for you, and you get I guess weaponry and stuff for them as well too. But it's all, you don't just say, well, look, hey, I want to buy this particular sword, I want to get this orc general for this. No, it's all random. So you can spend as much money as you want, and you probably might not get the thing that you want.
Right. Well, that's the point of RNG boxes and taking your money.
Yeah. And then the other issue too is that what you can do is, you don't have to, but the game also is supposed to have a mode where you can compete with other people to kind of like a Clash of Clans kind of thing, where you own these different forts, because that's what you do in the game. You take over these different, forts. But you can try to take over other people's forts and other people's games, and they can try to take over yours as well. It's all optional. But to me, that's like, well, basically you've created a pay-to-win situation, because some people can try to make their force better by just buying better generals and better weaponry. So it's like, so people are not taking that too well, even though it's kind of optional. But it's like, yeah, but you still put it in there. So
what
you're saying is that pay to skip this stuff as opposed to play and obtain this stuff.
Yeah, I mean, but games are just. It just seems like 7 out of 10 games. Maybe that's wrong. I know that's wrong. Let me just say that, because that's what the feeling is. We know that's bullshit, anyways. So 7 out of 10 games seem like they're coming out with loot boxes now. Like that's a thing. And as much as people say they don't like it, clearly it's working.
People love that shit.
Oh, they love opening them.
Gambling.
Yeah,
they love the gamble.
That's why you.
Am I going to get something super amazing?
Because you know that you're going to get views on it.
Exactly.
Hell, I do it too.
Ooh. Hey, I sat at the slot machine for 3 days straight, and I made $200. I want to see what you do when you sit there for 5 days straight.
Yeah,
what are you going to get?
Lose big or
because if your ratio win is equal to mine, then that's not interesting. But if yours is lower, then I feel better than you. But if yours is higher, then I'm mad.
Yeah.
Yep.
So it just, once again, if these things didn't work, they wouldn't be more prevalent. They wouldn't be as prevalent.
Yeah. But might seem like my other issue with it too, like, because I did cancel my pre-order though, but it's because I've seen this system in other games. Like I know I discussed it with Graham, talking about like the first game that I think that really pushed this big was Mass Effect 3. They had
it yeah, you've brought that up a bunch. I recall.
Yeah. So, like, for Graham, he was like, oh, man, I was having fun in the game, and that didn't really matter for me. For me, it felt like a hindrance, because people could just pay to get better stuff, better, chance at better gear, or more chances at better gear. And I was, like, playing, and I couldn't get shit. So, like, when the RNG is not in your favor, which is most of the time, because it never is.
And, and also, to be fair, just being anal about your wording, buying doesn't give you a greater chance of shit. It gives you a greater opportunity or number of chances.
Exactly.
But because it's RNG, you could play one match and get the best motherfucking thing in the world, and someone could spend $3,000 and never see it ever. And all you're buying is the opportunity, and opportunities are gained through either monetary purchasing or through acquirement of in-game currency, which is not as valuable and takes a lot longer to get. So I still, again, I'm like, for me, if someone spent a bunch of money, that's their thing. I will just laugh at the fact that they spent a lot of money because I think that's silly, but it might be worth it for them. For me, I will access it through whatever, playing a shit ton.
Yeah.
But the grind there is a grind once you stop enjoying the game. But if you still just enjoy playing the game, then you're just playing the game, and then you get those chances or opportunities, rather, every so often as like a side benefit of playing the game.
Yep.
So for me, the 1,000 hours I put in, I never maxed my whatever the term was that people used to use for that. Like I never got all my ultra rares to level 10. And I knew people that at like 750 hours had already maxed theirs. Like I was on like the more bad end of RNG or whatever it was, but those 1,000 hours never felt like a grind because that's how long I enjoyed the gameplay. So yeah. So it was like moot to me, like the whole loot box thing. It wasn't even a thing in my brain. It was just like, RNG is kind of shitty, but I understand RNG as RNG, and therefore, because it has no control over it, it's not a thing that I can get upset about.
Yeah, so. For me though, I found it annoying because it wasn't tied towards like just getting like a cosmetic. It was tied towards getting actual gear in the game, and it felt like, all right, I don't mind playing the game and grinding and getting to get stuff, but it felt like, all right, you could play and grind and you could not get shit. So when I saw like other people being able to play like higher tier difficulties because they got lucky and got stuff, I just felt like, well, my effort doesn't really equate to anything. If it literally felt like just going into a casino and just pushing money into a slot machine and just coming out with nothing. Not that I was actually spending money, but I just don't like that whole concept of gambling where it's like, it's not set up for you to get anything out of it. So it just felt like, as opposed to putting in money, I was putting in my time. And I would have felt better if it was like, all right, you put in this more time, you get this amount of in-game currency. And then you can eventually buy this thing. But then, hey, look, you got to upgrade it. So I prefer a grind like that, whereas like I can see myself going towards something as opposed to, oh, you randomly got this.
Right.
So I guess it may also because I kind of like that old school approach to games where you put in the time and the effort, you beat something, you get rewarded for it. For this, for stuff like that, it just feels like you put in the time and the effort, maybe.
Yeah,
and that just doesn't appeal to me.
And I
as
think
an individual.
I think the weird Janzer challenge part of my gaming, whatever perspective, I think also makes that moot, because for me, if it was like, I need an ultra weapon so I can beat gold difficulty, I would be like, gold difficulty, I wonder if I can use that using just starter weapons.
Oh, well.
So I would do that.
Yeah.
And I'd be like, that was really difficult, but I think I figured out how to do it.
You don't need the whatever. Yeah, I could do
so like the top tier, whatever. Yeah. So maybe that's like whatever challenge part or feels elite part of me or whatever it is. But that's literally what went through my head when you were saying that. I was like, well, I would just be like, well, why isn't this good enough?
Right.
Why is this not good enough? Well, is it really not good enough? I'm going to find out. So, and I can tell you for a fact that I have done really stupid things on really high difficulties with really supposedly shitty weapons, and some that actually were pretty underperforming. So it's all doable. But all those things to scaffold shitty weapons is level design, unit spawn, rotation, memorization, and like synergy of specific things and whatever power ups, blah 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 blah. Game
bars
stuff
being more spongy. But that's like things like that will appeal to you. I was like, oh yeah, man, I could bang my head against this wall till I get it done. I like that challenge. For me, I always felt that kind of challenge was For me, I always felt that kind of challenge was artificial. Like I could see where they put the walls up to block you.
Right.
And you had it would feel more like how it was when you started game, but with more of a challenge. For me, I always kind of prefer all right, as opposed to, all right, these enemies are going to be able to take more damage, so you need to get a stronger weapon. I kind of prefer oh, you know what? They're actually going to use grenades now. Or as opposed to just coming at you straight, they're actually going to flank, to me, where AI starts to well, it's obviously not AI, but where the game bots start to implement new strategies to dominate you, as opposed to, oh, we could just take more hits.
Yeah, but I do think that what you said, RNG eliminates like option of choice because it's locked behind something you can't control. And I think that for the most part, I think most of us agree that choice within game is a positive thing. So allowing you to choose or unlock something you want is probably a better system than an RNG system where you can't control shit.
Yep. Yeah. And to be honest too, I would prefer, even if they said, well, look, hey, if we change it from RNG to this, it's probably going to take you twice as long to accumulate, well, in terms of how you say, all right, well, you accumulate this amount, you can buy this box. I'll open it, like, well, you know what, it's probably going to cost you more just to get one box of one thing that you specifically want. I'll be like, cool, no problem.
Absolutely. Doing the gamble and rewarding the gamble by it potentially paying off better versus the much more expensive but guaranteed is great. And having both systems is just having more options for players, which I totally am for.
But I will say though that I am probably the minority when it comes to that stuff, because just like John said, people love opening these boxes to get random stuff. Like, they do streams about that stuff.
I think people like it because when they win, they feel really good.
Oh yeah.
But I think people also get extremely annoyed and frustrated with it too. But people get
both sides. People like to see hype
that
too.
Fucking win. Yeah. Oh my God, I got that. Someone bought 300,000 of them. They did the maths and that's a 0.08% chance. And I did it. I'm so amazing. Yeah. People get addicted to that fucking win. It's why people fucking play the lotto, even if they never, ever win ever, but they'll do it like ritualistically because the potential for that victory is so addicting and like enticing.
I think both of y'all have very specific sides that you look at that. My side is, and I've said it many, many times, everyone has a choice. And that choice is to pay for it or not. Meaning, if you don't like that system, like what Phil's saying, he's not going to help them any more than what he has to, which is he wants to play the game, but he's not going to help them as much as he would have with their development costs by pre-ordering it or whatever. I don't know if that would. I think that would have just locked in numbers for them, gives them better predictions on the success, that kind of stuff. So there is a point to pre-ordering. Where at the same time, Graham is like, it doesn't bother me anyway. So like I said, it all comes back down to your money as a gamer.
Absolutely.
You don't like the practices, don't buy into them, and that absolutely, sends a message. Because then a game will fail.
And I also would never say to somebody, oh, don't buy Shadow of War because they have microtransactions in it.
Right.
If you want to buy and play it, go and buy and play it. I'm not going to buy and play it. Well, not right now. I'll probably buy it when it goes on sale. But I'm not going to tell people you should not buy it because it has that. You want to do it, do it. It's your choice.
That's a good thing that you brought up, because that reminded me right now of something that I got a comment on the YouTubes, when we all know the comments on YouTubes are just the most amazing thing ever in the world.
Golden.
Yep. We just can't get any better than that. I'm going to bring it up real quick. And this is in regards to Destiny 2 and pre-ordering. And let's see here. This guy said, dumbasses everywhere. It's spreading like cancer. The hype of idiots giving their money to Bungie. He's put their like the contraction, they are their money to Bungie, and there was no punctuation, so whatever. Anyway, and so I responded, please explain. This comment seems like pent up anger. Because I'm not really sure, because my video on that was my woes in regards to the business side of the pre-ordering between one very large company and another, and how they handled the pre-orders and things associated with that. It had nothing to do with the quality of the video game. It had nothing to do with anything other than just how the pre-ordering was handled between those two different companies. And the the code that was associated with being able to play early on the beta. So that's all it was. Like Phil said, you know, he's not going to try and tell anybody what to do. And those people with comments like that have very specific experiences with Destiny 1, or maybe they've just heard about it, and so they're kind of, you know, parroting that. They don't affect me either. And that can make me stupid or not. I don't care. It's my decision. Once again, every gamer has their decision that they can make on what they're going to do with their money. And my decision is I can take into account all of that stuff and continue forward, and that's what I'm going to do. But doesn't mean I discount what they're saying. I'm just like, oh, they probably had a really bad time with it. And then that conjures up things about like me hearing about people talk about how the releases of content, for example, were a big problem between different platforms because of the length of time that one platform would get it versus the other, or the quality or the amount of content per update versus like, okay, here's an all-in-one that would have been a lot cheaper if you had just bought that instead. Yeah, that was a lot later. You know, the business, once again, business practices, on the other hand, are something different than the game itself, but still affect the company at the end of the day. I've made the bad decision, probably, to pre-order Destiny 2 and pay for it ahead of time because it's a feelings-based decision, and I'm very aware of that, and I'm very willing to accept the consequences therein.
All I gotta say is that I love the logical understanding of the illogical aspect.
Exactly.
It's just like it's a very logical, thought about analyzation of something that's irrational, and
this is how you
I love it.
Yeah, this is how you logically make a mistake. Yeah.
You are logically choosing to not be logical, and I love it because that's a legit thing.
Because video games a lot of the time don't have a lot to do with logic. Regardless, they are a feelings-based thing. They're about feelings, and they're about escape, and they're about making you feel better. Some people really revel in them because of the false sense of power that they give. I personally don't really. Sometimes it's kind of fun, but I'm not a power-hungry guy. I'm not like that by nature, so I don't seek that. When it happens, it's like, yes, but then I immediately like, I'm never gonna touch that weapon again or do that technique again because it's too much. It's too much for me, and it feels like cheesy and no challenge. That is a personal thing. Regardless of what, you know, what I think, it could be really difficult for someone else to use that same equipment and still achieve the same goal, you know? So who knows? But yeah.
But at the same time, too, as much as you might say, well, this pre-order might be a logical decision into stupidity.
Yeah.
Destiny 2 could become the next big first-person shooter. Like, they could take over the genres. Like, everybody starts playing Call of Duty and just says, oh my God, Destiny 2 is freaking awesome.
See, that's one of those things that I don't adhere to either, which is putting an expectation upon a thing that I know nothing of.
Yeah, but no. I'm not saying that you put that would be the
I know. I'm just putting that out there because I like hammering home that message, and I think that we've all done it in some regard. I know Graham says it too, but that's a really hard thing because once again, games a lot of the time, probably not for everyone, but a lot of the time are emotional based products. You know that we're buying something to make us feel a thing. You know. Yeah. So. But then it's hard to disassociate expectations from that.
Yeah. My other thing too is that was gonna add on to that is that, or it could be the next big flaw. But you know what? You thoroughly enjoy the game. Everybody else hates it, but you love it.
The Division.
So, yeah. So
well, it wasn't a huge flop, but it's pretty bad.
So your pre-order satisfied you. So you know, just because the game flop doesn't mean it's a horrible game. It just means that majority of people didn't like it.
Yeah. Shoot. Yep. Subjective. Enjoyment.
Yeah.
It's absolute. That's why I said these are feelings-based products. These are services in a sense, you know, that we're purchasing.
That's why when the Shadow War microtransaction
their experiences.
Came up,
I'm sorry.
Everybody was like, I'm done. I'm not. My pre-order is over. I canceled it. And I was like, let me see what it's all about.
I've heard that so many times about different games. I don't believe it till I see the sales numbers.
Yeah. But people that I knew, at least three people I knew were like, well, my pre-order's done. I'm canceling. Everybody was just canceling. I was like, yeah, you heard something. Let me look and see why, But then, like, as I started to understand what was going on, I was kind of like, all right, I'm going to cancel mine because I've been in this kind of system before with other games, and I personally don't like that. So I can't, but I'm not going to tell, like I said, I'm not going to tell somebody, nah, you're going microtransactions cancel. I was like, let me do my own research and figure out if I like what they're going to do with the game. And I was like, nah, I'll just probably buy it cheaper.
Yep. It's like any other service that you go to. It's like, this place charges you this for this. This other place charges you this price for this. But if you want these other things that you would have gotten with that other place, you have to pay X, right? I usually translate to like restaurants, You can go get a steak at a cheap place, or you can go to like a steak house where that's their specialty. So they're going to fucking charge you, It's going to be more expensive in general, You actually may have less to pay for in the nickel and diming section because they pay you an exorbitant amount for the thing itself. Versus if you go to a smaller place, it's like, okay, here, that's the cost for the steak. This is the cost for if you want to add mashed potatoes. This is the cost for, I don't know why you can. But anyways, the point being, we make these choices all the time. And it's the same thing
everything is cost benefit.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it should be. Yeah. We should be thought about that way. Yeah, it should be. Yeah. Should be thought about that way. But, I mean, sometimes, too, we're just tired and we just want to live as human beings and not have to think about, like, capitalism all the time. So... That's usually when we make some bad financial decisions.
Yeah, right.
Time to buy a motorcycle. What? That's not in the fucking books. Speaking about, if there's more, please go ahead. But I do have something to tie directly to this.
Go.
Oh, no, I had something else that would have tied into it.
Oh, too. Go ahead.
Ooh. Oh, well, is yours short or long? Because mine's going to be more of a discussion.
Relatively short, but it could be the same kind of discussion. Mine's about Quake Champions.
Oh, you go ahead then.
Okay, Quake Champions launches next week into paid early access. Did you hear that? Paid early access. Paid early access, right? So now, this is one of those things where you have to pay to get into testing, which is something that's a kind of a stickler for me. The fans will have no problem with that, but when I disassociate my feelings from it, and I look at it from a business perspective, I'm like, you sons of bitches. I'm like, God damn it. Don't charge me to fucking do your dirty work testing, and stress your servers. Anyways, that aside, I have some text here that I pulled from GameSpot, so you can find it there. Quake Champions will eventually be available as a free-to-play title. So that once again, we're getting another one of these games that's starting off as a charge and would be free to play. Excuse me. But Bethesda at first will only offer paid versions of the game. There's another twist to this too. So if you want to try it out next week, you have to purchase the Champions Pack, which is $30. $30 is not bad for a game. Okay. So this bundle includes all access to 11 heroes, any future champions that are released, an exclusive early access skin for a character called Ranger, and 3 loot chests. Oh, the loot chests. When it finally launches, that price will be bumped up to $40. So you get a lower cost. This is one of those like early adopter kind of things. Early adopter, you get a bunch of stuff. They also said future champions. They didn't say there was a restriction season-based. So any future champions. So that to me says that they already know the set number of champions they're going to release. Because once again, it's how much work are we going to put into the cost of the thing that we're charging, right? They got to pay the bills. And let's see, the loot chest is interesting. I don't have any more information than that, but there you go. There's that system once again in a free-to-play kind of game. Overwatch is not free-to-play, though. When it finally launches, blah, blah, blah. Okay, but Bethesda stated that if you've already been playing the beta, this is interesting. So if you play the beta, you can continue to play a limited free version of the early access release that only lets you play as Ranger. So what it is they had beta versions before this early access, and I had access to that. I never actually installed it and or played it because I watched it and I was like, no, I don't want to. But apparently you can still play that. You just have only one character you can play. And that's specifically for the early access. After that, I guess you have to pay. And yeah, so that's when once again I thought, like I said, I kind of noted most of the things that I wanted to like talk about there during it, which is, I guess, are we seeing that as a thing now, which is pay for
Pretty
the
much.
game while it's in early access / beta, whatever, and we're going to turn it around as a free-to-play the game in about 6 months to a year. You know, I guess that could be a new business model that they're coming up with.
I mean, people are doing it.
I think that is a current business, the new business model for like free to play and new games as well.
The only one I know other than this is literally just Fortnite, but that's a big enough game.
There's also Dauntless.
I don't know anything about that game. Dauntless. I watched
the Monster Hunter type kind of game, but
yeah,
they have the same system where
I watched. What's it going by? Tactical Potato. There you go. Because I saw. I was looking for something to do while I was filling out another fucking application. So I was looking for something to watch while or have in the background. So I saw like, hey, live stream it now on Twitch. I was like, all right, check it out. And I still agree, I don't like the art style of it at all. Anyways, but yes, saw a little bit of it.
Yeah, but today they had their Founders Alpha, which is like they have like 3 different tiers that you can buy into, like Slayer. I can't remember what the middle one is, but then the top one is Founder. If you bought into the Slayer package, you can't play today, or they're going from like today to the end of the month. But if you bought into the highest tier package, you can play from today, the 18th of August, until I think it's the 29th of August.
And then what happens to your progress?
Oh, at this point, no, the progress will be saved. Like they said that they're not gonna reset stuff.
Gotcha.
Or they're gonna try not to reset stuff.
Oof,
but
okay.
The whole thing is though is that you can't play from today unless you buy the highest tier, which is like $80.
Oh,
so that's even more than a $60 AAA title cost.
I paid $100 for Rainbow Six Siege plus Season 1 pre-order. Yep. When that came out, and that game is great. I don't think that Dauntless is going to be great. I think it's going to be just another one of those games that comes out, has a gimmick, which is kind of like a Monster Hunter, but it's not fully fleshed out, doesn't have as much content as it could, and it's going to have some kind of a following, and it's going to fall off pretty sharply, and that'll be the end of that. God, I sound horrible.
Yeah.
But I think that's what's going to happen because so many games follow that route.
I think they have the same.
If you're going to pay for it up front, then
what's their incentive to keep doing that unless they continue to charge you more?
Yeah, exactly.
They got to make money.
Yeah. Oh, well, they have stuff that will be in the game that you have to pay for. Not have to pay for, but that you can pay for.
You know, the only game that I have a current recollection of going from like alpha, beta, whatever, and coming out of it well and not have any fucked up shit happen is The Long Dark. That game came out and it's perfectly fine. And it came out within a reasonable amount of time. And it's perfectly fine. Let me say, and it's perfectly fine. Nobody does that.
I think that depending on how the developers approach it and how forward thinking or creative they are, they could keep the game going. I mean, the same thing was said about Warframe. I know they got more players playing it now than when they even were halfway, to the point that they're at now in terms of time. So,
and it's so weird because you just hear mostly negative stuff about it too from the player base. Yeah. So that's such a weird game and community.
I think isn't that a trend though? Because even look at Paragon, everybody bitching and moaning about that, but they still playing it.
Well, I don't know.
I think people still playing it are still watching and complaining. So I mean, if they're still so into it, like
Warframe has literal years on it. Paragon's got a year. I'm trying to make a fair comparison because you're talking about that.
People are bitching about Warframe from a year though.
I know. What I'm trying to say is you're picking a point of Paragon just dropping V42. So that's going to be at the height of any vocal unhappiness And the other thing is, and you play Paragon too, you know that it's not on the same development level as Warframe. They don't, it's not really that level of broken at all. There's a lot of things about me. I don't want to talk about this right now. But go ahead. Yeah. Go ahead.
No, I was just saying that with that kind of business model, not that they're exactly the same, but where you have to add constant updates to your game to keep people interested, as opposed to you just sell the title and expansions and then that's it. You get a lot of outcry and people saying, "Oh, I don't like this change," or "I don't like where you added that." You know, when Warframe had the damage 2.0, people were like, "What? You nerfed my weapon, this, that, and that," but they still played. So I find, with all games,
but to be fair, that wasn't a really bad or broken change either. Something like an update that they did, let's say a story arc that they added in, but the story quest itself was janky and fucked up, and they never really, and had a lot of grind to it. Those are very clear things where there's room that you can say, I understand what you're getting at here, So, like I said, I'd like to use fair comparisons, not we've changed how something functions, and it doesn't actually cause, there's certain things with that, like let's say the Kuva or whatever, that there's so much grind to it. That's adding a negative aspect to a game, not necessarily like we changed the jump mechanic. That's there's a big difference there.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree. But I just strongly believe that as long as a game has to evolve, people are if it has to evolve, or even if it remains the same, that gamers just seem to love to be, the first thing is just to be negative. I think it's generally a human reaction to things. Like, if it's something you don't understand, the first thing you do is speak negatively or kill it.
Yeah.
Also,
kill it.
Here's something that I think is interesting too. I find that the games that aren't like constant state of like beta, whatever, like AAA things, even though we live in a world of patches, I feel like some people will bitch, but then it will be that until it gets fixed, or if it never gets fixed, then that's just their first citation for why they don't like the game. But for all the beta games, I feel like because it still changes fairly regularly, the bitching gets reset to something new.
That's correct.
So it's stronger. So those games have a much more amount of hate that gets spat out. Yeah, like it adds up. Like, oh, well, last week I was bitching about this, and now this week I'm bitching about this and that, because there's been changes every one of those weeks. Whereas a lot of other games, they'll have a patch to fix something, but largely those games don't change a lot from release to end of patches over the years. Whereas a lot of these other games, they change drastically all the time.
Right.
So, yeah.
Yeah, no, it's true. It's true. What was that one game that came out on PC? It was already previously done. It had some problem. Vanquish had some problems with it. There was a little bit of but that's pretty much gone. Because like you said, it's just not getting constant updates, which would give cause to rise to anyone to want to or need to complain. So yeah, that's a very good point. It's a very good point. So maybe that's just the nature of it, like you were saying, Phil, That's just the nature of it. As something changes.
Human nature. Yeah. Changes and the lack of understanding of what goes. And I think that also is partly the community's fault and the creator of the game's fault. Because if you're going to change something or you're going to add something, drastically different, you need to explain it. And I find in most cases, they never have good tutorials or explanations as to how this new thing or this change works, as opposed to how it was before.
This is where Janzer, the developer apologist, is going to step in and help them out a little bit. I see two reasons why they might not bother. Number one, it's a testing environment for the sake of testing. So whenever you do that,
the territory.
Yeah, you want to see what the people that have not played something that you've already, in the case of Paragon specifically, they play the changes months in advance. They've stated this many times. There's a current dev stream out today. It's pretty short, like about 20 minutes. Watch it, listen to what they say. And once again, they stayed in there. They were playing V42 months ago. And it took them a while to come up with like, oh, I never thought about this as a counter, So now when they release it to the public, it's that many more people. We're going to say, like 100 times more people probably, easily, 1,000 times more people probably, tens of thousands, who knows? But it's quite more than just the company themselves playing it. And so we come to changes as a community in different ways. Community has its own mind and whatnot, and it takes other people, like on Covert stream the other day, he was talking with somebody that kind of goes against the grain, to come up with things that are not just the current meta, which I'm starting to see meta as just like almost not even the proper use of meta, but just the hive mind idea. It's not even like that it's the best way to do things.
That's how I look at meta. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but it's more the popular and accepted way to do things. And if you don't do it that way, then there's something wrong with you. But there were things that
until you apply your new theory or meta and it crushes their meta, and then they have to adapt to your meta or adopt your meta, and then that becomes the new meta, which is always the case.
Yeah, in pre-42, I'm guilty of it too. There was somebody that was talking in one of my live streams. He was in the game talking about like having a Narbash jungle being a ganker. Now, that's absolute garbage. But in the specific ways that he was talking about, it was something that could be done. The problem is it doesn't fulfill the role of a ganker. And I can't keep saying that because the timing that you could do it was so little that it wasn't an effective. Can it be done? Yes. Should it be done? No, because it's not very effective. It's effective in a very limited usage,
Doable, suboptimal.
Yeah, and that's, to me, what that is a person that it reminds me of the developers I used to coach. So web developers, that is. They focus down on solving a problem, and they get it. They solve the problem in a way. Just move your leg from tile 1 to tile 4. Now take your arm and move that. Like they solve it. It's in a kind of a complex way, and they solve it, and it works. But when you pull back, which is something I always used to teach, when you pull back and actually look at the greater perspective, and you take into account the amount of resources and time and effort that it took to do that one specific thing in regards to everything else in the project, you find that it's actually not that useful. And there's probably more creative ways that you could have, if you would have stopped yourself at some point or come to talk to me maybe, in order to stop you from doing stupid shit. That way you could think of other ways to get around the problem than just that one specific way. Narbash Jungle now in post-42 Paragon is now more of an option because there's supplemental active cards that don't make him as useless because he has to wait for his ultimate specifically to gank. Would I use him as a jungle? Probably not, but people are now. So,
but also don't misunderstand when I said like the player base and the developers are at blame. I do think that you say you're going to be the developer apologist. I still think that developers are to blame.
I never really apologize. One is the whole they want to see what players do. The other one is they don't want to take the time to create the tutorials because shit changes too much for them. That's why.
Yeah,
it's a cost effort.
But yeah, there's a cost effort. However, if you're going to toss something out and you're not going to explain it, you have to be fully aware that the first reaction that people are going to have are going to be negative.
Yeah,
and you're not really going to get a good overview of what the potential of it was if you don't explain it. Like if I bring out this new thing and I said, hey, look, this is a shaver with a laser. You're like, I don't know, lasers kill people with that. No, and then you said, no, it's not a laser like how traditional lasers. So if you sit down and explain it, the people will be more willing to, okay, let me try it. So you're
What's
not
a test
holding
environment?
their hand all along the way.
I'm still going to go by the test environment because if you do tell them, then they're going to give you the expected function that you told them. And therefore that limits creativity.
But no.
And they want to see what happens with the system.
I still think that if you don't have to hold their hand all the way. But if you just said, hey, look, this is how this thing actually works. try it out and see what you can do with it.
Well, they do that. Like, let's say with Paragon, the cards have descriptions telling you what they do. Or they put out a new hero and they put a video out saying, here are the things that the hero does.
But did they explain the whole card system and how all the different, things? Like, we had to sit down and play and say, you need to buy the points with the gold. And, like, they didn't explain any of that shit.
Right.
Which I think was a flaw on their part.
So that's why I'm going back and saying,
I think the feedback from the game,
they don't want to do that because
it does enough of that. Because it's almost like you can tell someone how to do something, or you can give them the tools and let them play with them, and which one is going to teach them better. Sometimes it's one way, sometimes it's the other. And I think sometimes if you tell someone, hey, you get this and then you do this, sometimes they're like, okay, that's the only way to do it. But if you let people experiment with something, they can find multiple different ways. And sometimes because you had to go through a state of confusion, when you come out of the other side, you will have a better, stronger understanding.
I understand what y'all are saying, but I still gonna disagree.
No, I understand. I'm just clarifying that I believe it's a cost thing on their end, and they know that the community is a thing and will create stuff too.
Yeah, but I think also it's a cost thing, but then there's also investment that you need to put into something to give it the full potential that it could have. Like that's like releasing the game and not letting anybody, not advertising it. No, there's no direct tie towards advertising.
I don't think it's that bad.
It's equal in sales. No,
that's a bit extreme.
Another instance. All right, another instance then, like giving an alien a screwdriver, and they might do something completely different with it.
Right, but their intention is to find out what those aliens are going to do. Like they're getting what they want. They're getting data. Remember, it's still beta.
Yeah, but they're
still testing.
I still think that if you don't give any indication or any little hints of directions, like a very vague directions, that
and I think they do.
People are gonna just gear themselves in one direction.
Card descriptions and hero descriptions, like when I think they do. I think they do. I think it's just a matter of like wanting more of that. And if it was a fully released game, I would probably call them out more on it. And I've even said it during live. I was like, if you had AI that functioned the way you expected the players to, then it would be better for people that are playing AI once they transition to PvP. I've said that many times during PvP. And I think their AI is working better now in that regard. But yeah, like I even said, if they had little quests or missions that you could do showing you how to, be a jungler or whatever, that would go a longer way to getting people to play the game, hence being more successful and having better retention. I agree. I agree. But at the same time, it is a big project, and I don't know that they have everybody to do all of that.
I think the context of the type of game that it is both excuses and explains why that system is there. I think.
Yeah.
I mean, if a AAA game came out and it had like literally zero tutorial, some people would be like, "That's the best game ever. It won't hold your hand," and other people would be like, "It doesn't make any sense." I mean, people are going to complain either way, because that's what gamers do.
Like I said, I don't want it to hold.
But if the game is done, they should explain the base mechanics through some type of tutorial so that you understand it. I feel like they did give you enough information in this, but it's also a playground where shit's supposed to be kind of broke or kind of fixable or whatever. It's not a clean cut mold. It's still in the workshop, I feel, is the context of
because apparently MOBAs just change their shit all the time.
I fully understand what y'all are saying, but knowing the psychology of human beings, and especially
knowing the psychology of human beings, I would never try to please anybody.
Let me finish. The first thing that they're gonna do is, if they don't understand it, they're gonna reject it. And that is not a good basis to go forward on saying, "Oh, well, this didn't work." It's like, but did you explain anything? Or did you
that's fair.
So
I think I need to clarify. I'm not disagreeing with you.
You can't just toss something out into the wild.
I'm giving reasoning.
I just think
I'm not saying you're wrong. I understand. Yeah,
I agree. But again, if you've invested they've invested how many years into this game?
Now, that's almost sounding like you're being disrespectful in a way. You're almost saying like they don't care enough to it.
No.
Invested quite a lot, man.
Stop. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying is that's just like one little thing that could have helped a little bit to maybe get a more balanced response. So I'm not saying that what they did is completely wrong. What I'm saying is that if they wanted to get a more balanced response, they could have put a little bit of
but we don't know
somebody in that time.
We don't know that.
No, but let me finish.
Yeah.
To give a broader perspective of what it was.
Yep.
So that people could say, well, you know what, this is interesting, but I don't like it because of this. Or you can do it the way that they did it, where people just look at it and said, I can't understand it, I don't like it.
Right. No, I knew where you were going with that.
Get a good feedback. So where do you, seeing as you're still evolving the game though, what happens is that you could probably find yourself in a perpetual loop if you keep doing it like that.
Well, hopefully,
here's the thing though.
They apply the knowledge from the experience to the next time.
That's the thing. Watch their dev streams, and they're not the Rust developer that was saying, you know what, we put out updates and you guys like it, then you hate it, go fucking play another game. They're not that.
That's true.
You have to watch their live streams to get what they're about. They were like, you guys have given us a lot of feedback. We appreciate it. Keep doing it. Go to Reddit. Tell us what's going on. We know you're passionate about it. Like, they're not saying, like Warframe, remember the forums, they're like, it was always a constant thing about like, you guys need to calm down. You need to be more respectful. No, they're like, no, this is good. They're not complaining about the type of feedback they're getting at all. So if they were, I would agree a little bit more with what you're saying. And I think that it's true. What you're saying is true. You potentially could get better feedback if it was clear, but gamers, even in the best of situations, the odds that they're going to be like, oh, here's some perfectly well-written criticism with no go fucking die in a corner or, nothing. There's nothing like, I think that you're still going to get that regardless. And I do see what you're saying. Yeah. That any developer could benefit from what you're talking about. Any one of them. That's pretty much what I've got to say about that. I don't see that these developers have like reached their limit. Then again, it's only been out a year and a half, I think maybe. They don't remind me of watching the Warframe developer streams or anything like that. They don't look like they're not having fun anymore. They don't look like they're not in touch with what's going on with the community, things like that. So. Yeah, but that's Paragon specifically, and that's just them. It's not every developer out there either. So what you're saying is very, very true. Very true.
Well, we'll watch and see what happens.
Yeah.
Hopefully they don't get salty, because it's really easy to get salty if people just keep shitting all your stuff without even understanding it or taking the time to understand it.
And at the same time, as a developer, and I mentioned this on stream too, there's absolutely no way that you can convey 100% of the information and get exactly the expected response that you want 100% of the time, because it's just impossible. The only way I could do that, even at myself at a smaller digital agency, trying to convey information about projects using multiple digital. So what? You got phone, you got email. We had a workflow system that was a different thing altogether, where we logged hours and we logged notes about the projects. We had Gantt, like online Gantt charts that I would work on as well, that would show timelines and expected things that were supposed to happen on that. We had the initial scope of works, or if you want to call them like RFPs, request for proposal initially, that's before the scope work. We had all of these communication that was basically supposed to convey expectation. That's all it was. That's all it was. Expectation of cost, expectation of what you were actually going to get, expectation of resources applied to the project, all that, whatever it was, who was supposed to do what, who's responsible for what, client or us, right? And you never had 100% positive communication. It just was, it was near impossible. There's very few projects that would actually happen in. And it's because somebody always didn't understand something, even if the information was properly put in a way, or your assumption was, I listed this information in a way that any human being would understand. This is why I used to joke that my job was English to English translation. Because even with the clearest, A+ college English degree in writing, there's still different ways that people interpret information or skip over information or just don't even read the information. Yep. So that's why I know for a fact, like being a developer and then being a project lead as well, and seeing our projects, I got fed up at one point of never hearing positive feedback and always hearing negative feedback. This is probably why it's very personal, like what you're talking about. Like, not that you're doing it. I'm just saying this idea of what happens with games. And I'm not saying all developers don't need negative feedback. Of course they need it. But I got fed up because when I started running that team, I was a couple of different teams. Anyways, when I started running the team, I knew how it felt as a developer to only hear negative stuff. And I was like, what's wrong? So when I became the team lead, I was like, I'm going to fix that shit. I don't want people to feel like they're doing something for nothing or that it's a thankless job. What's the point of even doing this job? Now I have no motivation. Now I'm just going to do whatever it takes to get the fucking day done. You know, there's a series of events that lead to that. Like, I don't give a fuck. Now I'm fired, you know? And so I started fixing that. Like what you're saying, Phil, like try to clear that communication up of like, where's the expectation? Where are we falling off on expectation? Where's that? Where is it with the client specifically and what we're telling them? I.e. when it comes to, you know, what developers are telling gamers, are they not clear in what they're communicating? Like, for example, you know, I know Paragon's going to be up to giving Wraith and Gideon buffs. Kalari's going to get a nerf because everybody's been... Those are three people that people have been talking about, like, you know, that they've been having problems with. Countess, on the other hand, they said she's actually pretty okay where she's at now. They will look at possibly giving her something, but there is actually a lot of ways you can counter her now. Kalari's problem is that it's tied to her scaling of damage. And with Countess, they're like, if you're allowing, they said the same thing, if you're allowing her to get to where she has those extremely high-cost cards, so you did something wrong. Because you saw in the draft that there's a Countess, and you know the potential for one specific card that she's going to get. You know the cost of it, or you don't, because you just don't know, but somebody on your team should know. So either you're counterplaying her by using that deck that you've kind of created because you're knowledgeable about this. So you have certain cards in your deck to kind of counter that, giving more vision, whatever it takes, right? Or you're beating her to her farm, or beating her out of her farm.
Hindering her progress.
Yeah. So they also did mention, though, that they're going to give more vision options for, like, knowledge and growth. I know I turned it a bit because I want to get back to more gaming. But vision options for knowledge and growth, because those are two of the affinities that don't really have a lot in regards to being able to find vision in regards to, like, shadow plane stuff, you know, being able to see stealth people. So... But yeah, I mean, their balance updates are coming as far as what they said. So it's difficult because even in the live stream that I was doing about Paragon, that one guy came in all salty. I mentioned that too. I was like, well, if you listen to the dev streams or maybe read the blog or whatever, but I know a lot of people don't do that. So how do you counter that level of negativity? You know, it's got to be in the game, I guess, right? But then people might skip past it. And they're like, I don't want to hear it. I just want to play.
Yep, absolutely.
I don't want to watch this video. You know, get this shit out of here. I want to get out of it. I don't care what you're saying.
And people process different information and are available at different times. So, I mean, you can make like a well-detailed like tutorial video, like some of the ones that you've done, Janzer. And some people will be like, yeah, I don't understand that. The way you presented that seemed confusing to me.
It's true.
And they need to ask questions.
Or it's just not seen, like the one that I did with only 16
So what do you
views.
do? Do you make 3,000 different videos, or do you like do it live, but then somebody's not there during the live, so you have to do it again? Like, at some degree, it's not going to be effective for everybody. Yep. So you can't always strive for the same type of perfection because it's not going to happen. So you take what you know, you apply it to do the best that you can, but that one way is that one way, and that's the effort. And then you figure out what did or didn't work, and then you apply that knowledge to the next time. And I think that's what most people do.
But
not everybody.
That's why I think that books get revisions and tutorials get revisions over time. So, like, and no matter what you do, you can't get everyone. You're not. Some people are. You're just gonna miss a percentage of people, regardless of how wide you try to make it. And probably by making it too wide, you may actually end up missing more people than you would if you made it more concise. But I think that if you, not that they didn't do anything, because they totally did stuff. But I think if they added a little bit more or something, then they could probably go back and tell people, well, did you look at such and such? Did you understand? And they'll be like, oh, I didn't look at it. Like, then you can ask, why didn't you look at this? And I just think that they could get a bit more feedback.
But they do have dev streams, like literal gameplay streams too, where they play the game and people talk to them. I mean, I think there actually is a lot of ways that they reach out to the community. On the other hand, I played some AAA titles where a patch will come out on Steam and I'm searching to find what are the changes. It's not on their blog. It's not on their fucking Twitter. It's not on Steam.
You usually find it somewhere really obscure.
Either if you really find obscure it at all. Or not at all, because they haven't bothered to put it up yet. To me, that's unacceptable as a AAA title. As a small developer, I find a lot of these even like Conan Exiles, as much as that didn't really, pan out as great as it started, they were very in touch with the community and pushing. I'm not saying all developers like that, but I think it's more of an egregious issue when a large AAA developer that has really no excuse, to do that, doesn't do it, versus a small developer who, having been a small developer, your resources, literally your time and life. So how much can you do during the day and then do it again and do it again and do it again, and maybe sometimes on the weekend, and then keep going? And no, it's more months and years, and just keep doing it. It's just, you're gonna fuck up. But that's what directors are for and all that. That's not an excuse. It's not an excuse. But it is a difficult job. Is all I like to kind of, people know that, but they don't really think about it. They don't really know it. And if you've ever cut corners in a job before because you're tired because it's a Friday, guess what? People do that sometimes. Yeah. And that doesn't mean they always do it, and doesn't mean that they're going to keep doing that kind of thing. But hey, we're human beings, not robots. So I strive to be a robot. I really do. I hate feelings. I want it just be ones and zeros. But
I have a feeling that I think it's neat that you brought up Conan Exiles, because I have a thing on that.
Oh shit.
So that is this week made its way to the Xbox. And I think it coincided with some sort of expansion, which apparently the expansion is, I don't remember if it said it was the size of 70% of what it is, or it adds basically the old together, it makes up 70% of the total.
Is it
either way? It sounded huge. I think Frost something was in the name, or something with an F. Yes. But anyway, the interesting thing for me about it coming to Xbox is that, last week or something, I had said what's neat about the Insider program is now anybody's available. Conan Exiles currently, until its full release, is only available on Xbox through that Insider program. So if anybody is interested in it and has an Xbox, you won't see it unless you opt in, because it's unfinished, so it's part of the Insider program.
Apparently they're also getting underwear.
Yes.
So if you opt in, do you have to pay for the game?
I don't think so. I think there may be a pay thing. Let me double check real quick.
I've heard about that.
Unfinished version, just like Ark Survival Evolved, blah 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 blah. It costs $35. There you go, and then it has the equivalent pricing, whatever. And you can try it free before buying. I don't know what the limitations of that is, but you can.
Is that a $35 yearly, or?
I think it's just to buy it outright, early access type format, I think. But yeah, so you can apparently access it for insert possible limitations here for free on the Xbox, but you can also buy it for $35. So, but through the Insider program only. So
no, I just asked because I know there's some people that will cry out, oh, can you release it for that for console? It's not even finished yet. And my response to that is, but they released it for PC and it wasn't finished yet. So it's so why is console better than PC? You know what I mean? It's why can't people do that for console and not for PC? to me, people seem to hold consoles at this level where when it comes, it has to be finished. But PC is like, oh, we could test this. And I was like, no. They all created on computers and tested in their own environment. So I think that argument is just bullshit.
I think the problem with console is just we talked about this a long time ago, is the time that it takes for them to get past whatever their required certification is to get it.
Yeah, certification, update, whatever thing is a huge barrier.
That being said, I wonder if that Xbox, what was it called again?
Insider
program? I wonder if that allows developers to bypass that. That would be amazing.
It very well could, because it's the Insider is for all like experimental and beta stuff.
You don't want to probably could them, but maybe
they probably do like quick checks to make sure it's not gonna fuck up any.
Yeah, this isn't gonna like try to hack into our shit. Yeah,
and because I know with a lot of the stuff when I was in that Insider program a long time ago, they'd be like, we're going to let you have access to the new dashboard so you can give us feedback and whatever.
Right.
Just so you know, this could cause various blah, 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 blah. So use at your own risk. So it's one of those things. So yeah, I think that's a good... I didn't even think about that, Janzer, but that's probably true. It could.
What was also kind of interesting is that, like how John was saying, they were listening to feedback. Same people that created Conan Exiles, they were listening to feedback and they were really, like trying to get stuff going. And the reviews were like, like mixed, leaning towards positive. No, on Steam is like mostly negative.
Huh.
And I don't think the game has changed, like for the worse, but it's like, expectations.
Right.
So then people just, so
maybe content didn't come out in time, because I know that was a big issue when it first came out. But people, their hype just drove it through there. Oh my God, dicks and tits and yeah.
Dick tits.
Oh yeah. Interesting thing too though is that
that's gross, Graham. I just had an idea of like really long dicks hanging off of where the nipples are for tits.
Yep, that's what I thought you were going. Where the nipples are.
I'm sorry.
They removed the dicks on certain platforms.
Oh right.
Oh right. They removed the dicks on all US versions of the game, but only in the European versions of the game you can still have the dong slayer. Which I thought was interesting. Europe is a little bit more free. They don't really care about that shit. It's like whatever.
They're like, oh, you're naked. Yeah. That's the thing. Yeah,
I can never do that shit all the time. But
and you would think that Australia, as like crazy as it sounds, would be less restrictive, but they're a lot of times
way more restrictive than anybody.
Way more with games, especially to
games and movies.
Oh yeah,
media. That's too violent. We're going to start a Kill Each Other League, by the way.
Kill Each Other League, I love it.
Yeah, that was like, here's all this gear, we're going to beat the shit out of each other. That's what it's called, beat the crap out of each other. And I remember seeing the gear for it. We talked about this in the podcast, like fucking one of the first few. And I was like, how is this a thing? And we're going to beat the fuck out of each other in an arena. But that video game, that's a little too much. Let's do it for real. We're doing it live. Jeez. I think that, Phil, a lot of the internet would probably agree with you and put, going back to that real quick to give you more props for what you're saying, that the developer, it is their job to, if they want a certain expectation, to do the work that it takes to get that result. And like I said, that's why I'm putting on my developer apologist person and going to say that, because if I posted what I said in a forum, they would tear me apart.
Oh my God.
Because it has nothing to do with being human beings. It has everything to do with satisfy my penis or vagina, whatever it is.
Penis.
They just want their feelings to be satisfied. They don't care about anything else other than that. So bottom line, when it comes to like budgets and humanity, those are neat ideas.
My other thing,
but yeah.
Yeah, but the other thing I would toss on that too is that I'm saying that about Paragon. Yes, I
gotcha.
That's what I think that they should have done. However,
to be more successful, I agree.
However, is it always feasible? That's another thing you have to toss on. That's another layer on top of the cake. Yeah, you know what? You really should do this to get the best outcome possible. Can you do it? It's a question, because I don't know how large their team is. I don't know how much time guys there could be doing 2 and 3 things at the same time that they're not really signed on to do, but it's like they just committed because they want to see the project, go somewhere.
Yep.
I have no idea what's going on behind the scenes, so I can say that from on my high horse over here. But the minute I get down off of that and I go into the trenches with them, I realize, oh shit, y'all really ain't got no time to do this. All y'all just needed to get the content out and just see what people said. So,
and from what I know about you, that's usually indicative of how you think about things regardless. It's not like I don't normally hear you say, man, fuck this shit, this is some bullshit. That's why I don't think that you're an idiot. That's why I still talk to you for as long as I've talked to you. I don't like talking to people.
If Jandra talks to you, he does not think you're an idiot.
It's been said many times, I do not suffer fools lightly. And you've seen in my Discord or on Twitter, if somebody, I'm just like, what are you talking about? Please clarify. Usually not please clarify. Usually more like, when the fuck are you saying?
That's true. And that's why when you said that the developers are like, yeah, bring it on. Give us more.
Yeah.
That I could fully understand. Like, if they can't get, what I was saying that they should get done, you have to be willing to say, look, bring all the negativity.
Right.
Let us know. We're gonna sift through this. We can sort it out. However, if you can do like how like in some instances where like DE did, where they were like, screw you, we're gonna nerf this, we're gonna do that. It's kind of whoa. I mean, come on. What do you expect? You can't be like a little baby with babies.
Right. No. Motivations there were becoming very blurry, and it was hard for me to interpret a lot of the time what they were withholding for the sake of not needing the public to know. I mean, that's a big thing too. Even as much as I wanted to be ultra clear with my team, and I was a lot of time. I spent a lot of time. I spent 99.9% of my time communicating as a team lead, and I still had to do code. By the way, I still had to do code, or like, oh, here's an unfixable problem by everyone else on the team. Time for me to step up and fix it in 30 minutes. I wish I was kidding. It sounds like a Superman thing, and it's exactly what the fuck I was. You had to do it. Here's a fire. No one can put it out. We need it put out like in 5 minutes. Go. Okay. So, and that
that's
happened.
what a team leader is supposed to do, though.
Exactly.
You're supposed to be in charge of a group. You're supposed to be able to step up
and at the same time
take on the things that they can't even take on.
That's why a lot of people in lead positions fall back too much. And I fell back on it too because I knew it was necessary. They fall back too much on not explaining what needs to be explained. But I also thought about it in the way of like parenting. When you don't explain to a child why they're being punished, or why something needs to be done, they grow up resenting you. They grow up resenting actions, or they grow up resenting anyone that gives them that kind of thing. I'm that way. I was never explained. So a lot of the things I do is because of counter to what I knew was not good. So it takes a lot of communication though to explain that stuff. And a lot of times leaders either don't have the patience or time. They simply don't have the time to sit there for 10, 15 minutes. That may not seem like a lot, and explain to somebody on the team what they don't understand, which is not their fault. And you have to remember that too as a lead, but it's just lack of information. That takes time. It all takes time. So yeah,
and I'm glad it's not a job that I'm doing because I loved it. Well, no, I'm not talking about your job that you had. I mean, in terms of like game developer, because people could be out there shitting on your game, like your whole fan base to be just shitting on it. But at the same time, the amount of hours that they put in and playing the game, you get like mixed messages. You're like, so wait, do you hate this or do you like it? Because you playing it probably even more than you used to play it before we made this change. So it's kind of like, I don't want to deal with that. Fuck you.
Yeah. I think all I take that as now that I know as a gamer, and then thinking about it the way you talked about it, is I take that as the player that actually really enjoys playing the game. They're heavily invested in it. They don't want to stop playing, and they want the best for it. They just don't have a good way of communicating it. And in good, I mean just they don't explain fully a lot of the time, or their terminology is just deplorable. So
there's a barrier for them to actually explain or communicate what they feel and think.
Yeah, it's funny because they want the changes, but they may not always take the time to give good feedback or clear feedback, because even though they'll spend a lot of time playing the game, as I said, like during that live stream, it's not their job to be the critic.
Yep.
They're a gamer. As a developer, you're lucky if you get feedback, you know? It's the same thing when I used to do YouTube videos. I was lucky if people gave me information on like what I could adjust or change. Most of the time it was just quiet. So, you know, it is what it is. You know, you just, you have to be willing to accept that.
You don't know what you're doing wrong. You don't know what you're doing right.
Speaking of information and like finding what you're looking for and such, I came across an article that talked about Twitch using a technology that sorts streams by specific information. Apparently, it already currently exists in the form of League of Legends, where you can browse that game, and then there's an extra little tab that does by hero. And apparently, they're extending that or plan to extend that to Overwatch and Hearthstone. So when you're looking through Overwatch streams, you're like, I want to watch Mercy plays.
Right.
Or Hearthstone, you'll be like, I like this specific type of deck. Boom. And so I was like, that's kind of neat. That's interesting. I'm on Twitch a lot. I don't actually really have any interest in watching any 3 of those games, but I know they're pretty popular, so other people probably do benefit from it. But it's pretty neat because you'd be like, I'm in the mood to watch someone be a healer, or I want to get better at this hero or this deck or whatever.
And then you could first time plays.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. So it's interesting that there's these added filters that are being added for some games. But yeah, it's pretty cool.
Did you see how they're doing it? Like apparently they bought some company that's like a
Clip Mine or something. They acquired them. Yep.
Yes.
And I don't know too much about them, but
it's like a video recognition system that scans all the frames in a video and gives data back based on that. So that's how they're able to tell, this person is playing this character and has been doing that for so long. So we're going to, this is a filter that we can add. Apparently, it's something that they added because unlike YouTube, where you can set your own metadata, you can't really do that with Twitch all too well. So you can set the title, but there's no real stuff there for metadata. So it adds its own metadata based on like, okay, Phil has been playing this character for this long, so we're going to add this, filter to that, game based on what he's been doing, melee based or whatever, I don't know if it's down to melee based, but they can get pretty granular apparently. So yeah, it's pretty interesting.
Maybe they add specific tags based on what you're doing.
Yeah. Yes, sir. And so I also saw that as a tool in regards to countering an article that we talked about in B3 Discord, which is talking about like how people were, I'm going to say, abusing their live stream option by going and trolling other live streamers, sending like people over there to talk shit and all that kind of stuff. And then that was their entertainment that they were streaming, was the reactions of all that stuff that was that their people in their chat were doing to other people, and how that's a big issue in IRL streams right now. I don't know because I don't go to IRL streams, but I know, like, I remember Emphasize saying, man, this stuff is addictive, watching IRL stuff. I personally don't see it, but then again, I don't really care for like reality TV either. Not that it's the same thing, but to me it kind of is ish. Either way,
for me, IRL, I find IRL to either be fake or boring as fuck, because that's usually the 2 options.
Oh my God, guys, please help me out with whatever. Look at how horrible my life is. Can you give me money? Or look at these amazing things that I have. Or,
I actually unfollowed a streamer recently, a female streamer. Cause I try to find some female streamers in there because, like, female streamers always get a particular rep for, either trying to be sexual or this and that. And I found this stream and I was like, all right, yeah, she's pretty, but she's not like showing off any assets other than her face. And I was like, she can play games. So I was like, yeah, she was entertaining. But then not too long ago, she had a personal issue, like, the legal something with money, and she just started the stream and just started crying and talking about it. And I was like, this is not something that you go to random strangers and talk about. And then I saw people starting to donate, and I was like, no, all right, yeah, fuck that shit. You're exploiting it. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
As much as I liked you before, I can't respect you doing that.
Yeah. Yeah, and I get that.
Stop following.
Yep, I get that. Yep, I totally understand. And that's their choice. They want to do that, that's fine.
Mm-hmm.
The stream wants to do that, that's fine, whatever. I mean, it is what it is. You see, there's people out in the street, that will ask for money too. It's the same thing. Or if you see like a female that's homeless, but, you can tell she's trying to look somewhat attractive or whatever to get money. It's like, what's going on there? That's your decision as a human being to make your own. I don't like to judge, but I can choose who I want to give money to or whatever. So, but what I was saying was, I think that could help crack down on those types of things too, because they can recognize what's going on in the stream.
Yeah, that's true. That's interesting.
Yep. So, yeah. I have one last thing, and that's all I have, which is this. I saw this really interesting thing called Movie Pass. There's an article about Movie Pass. Apparently, it used to cost like up to $50, where you could go to any theater and watch as many movies as you wanted, and you paid this one app $50. They send you a card with the movies that you selected on that card, and then when you go to the theater, you swipe that card and you watch your movie. Well, apparently that company has sold out a portion of it itself to a basically advertising data collection company. About 51%, I think, is what they said, the majority of it. So what that's going to do is it's going to collect viewing habits from people that use the service. Okay, and then they're going to sell that, and then they're going to sell that to advertisers in order to get money, right? Because they're going to feed you ads. So what that's allowed them to do, though, is cut the price down to $10 a month. So you potentially could watch 31 movies in a month for the cost of $10 if you can find 31 movies that are actually worth it in a month. But still, I'm like, collect data on me. I don't give a fuck.
Yeah, right.
I mean, I'm already getting, in the mail, I still get stupid junk mail. In the fucking physical in the mail, postal mail, I have to throw away. The majority of the stuff I get is garbage. And I wish I could tell, don't ever send it to me again, Will I do with an email that's garbage? Yes. And I'm not even giving them my email address for this stuff, It's just more like they're probably retargeting my browser and that stuff, whatever. But I think it's a really neat idea. I actually don't seem to have too much of a problem with it. Apparently, one of the co-founders of Netflix, Mitch Lowe, is part of this. And he's saying that the whole advertising model is like years away. Who knows? It'll probably show up next year. But the important part is $10 a month sounds really fucking good to be able to go to see brand new movies, That's even less of a reason to go pirate shit, Yeah.
I think weren't some like movie houses or theaters or something opposed to it, like complaining that how can you do this and this is way too complaining.
I didn't see anything in that article regarding that, probably because there was a piece that they were like promoting this,
Yeah, I think some of them were kind of like opposed to it, but honestly, I think that they would make way more money selling that information to the advertisers than actually trying to get people to pay to watch the amount of movies that they would want to watch within that same time frame.
Yep. I agree. It's money they're losing out on already by people not going to the theater.
Yeah,
I agree.
And that's a term that I remember when I was studying some courses in business, and they call that just a loss leader. You know what I mean? You give something to somebody like dirt cheap or way under the cost of what it's actually valued, but what you get in return costs way more than you would get if you were to sell it at the actual price.
Yeah. I try to do that with my business too.
And you also get more people to do it because you're selling it so cheap. Like, because kind of like what supermarkets would do. Hey, we're selling such and such at this price for this, for the next few days, and everybody comes in and buys that stuff. But guess what? They're not going to go in and buy that stuff and leave with just that.
Correct.
They can go and check the other shelves and buy other stuff, which is probably a little bit overpriced, and they can still go and buy that stuff.
Yeah. You have a greater chance of repeat business than you do of no one ever showing up in the first place.
Yep.
But that's specifically to like that kind of thing. Movies, people know movies, whatever. This is more of I think a a turn towards the trend of how we consume media, which is really what it is.
Yep.
And we consume in big bulks now, or monthly chunks, Netflix, Spotify, that like whatever it is. These are all ongoing services that we pay a small, what looks like a small fee to us in order to gain access to a larger amount of potential things. And it all banks off of the whole thing of like, what are average people going to consume versus the people that are just insane and, they're going to take whatever they want. Those people are always going to be like that. But the odds are that you're going to be able to get it for free versus trying to like get it, from someone else in a dirty fashion. So to me, I think that's a good counter for that kind of stuff, downloading illegally and all that.
And it's also one step closer to getting rid of the shitty practices that cable companies have, where you have to buy into multiple packages just to get one particular, network or whatever that you want to watch something on.
Well, you don't mean the aptly named Cox internet then, because apparently they're going to be charging a $50 fee for unlimited internet access on top of your normal fee, by the way. They were already charging like extra per megabyte or whatever in some regions, not all of them. If you went over your limit, I can't remember what it was, like $10 for a gig or who knows? It's hard to say. But you could look all this up. But I did read something about that. It just slipped my mind until you mentioned that. Yeah, they're going to. That whole thing is goddamn. I don't know why that's an acceptable practice, but it is, where one part of the country, one state can have charge. They don't get unlimited access to net, but they get charged more, way more for slower net at that. I know people that have like slower net with a cap, where I have really fast internet at a fraction of the cost with no cap.
Yeah, but the same thing happens here. Like, you always hear me complain about my ISP.
Oh yeah,
I'm paying the same amount as other people who have fiber running to their house. I don't have fiber, but I gotta pay the same amount because they just have a set fee across the board. So it's like, you have a set fee and you say that this is the speed, but you're not giving me that speed. And in certain areas, they just don't really care to run the fiber in those areas, but they can charge the same amount. You can get away with it.
Yep.
And I think in the US, that happens a lot with rural areas, where they can charge more in rural areas because they're like, there's a smaller community, charge them whatever we want.
Yep.
Make more money out of it that way.
We're going to get less, so we charge more. Yep. To try to equal some stupid bullshit number that doesn't take into account everything. It goes back to that whole thing about like focusing too hard on one small thing but not taking into account everything. So but when there's no competition, because there can't be any, they'll take the negative criticism. They don't give a shit. That's going back to that net, that whole net about who should regulate the internet or access. Should it be companies or the government? I'm like, either one here's the thing. They need regulation. Businesses in general need regulation. They do, because they've shown that what they can do is, if you don't regulate them, they'll put children to work. We've gone over this. People seem to forget this, And then what else would they do? They'll create monopolies, and destroy any other competition. Now, they're still doing it. It's just they're more broken up. So there's a chance at some kind of competition, but that's still not enough, So there does need to definitely be regulation. Should it be the companies that are the ones that are going to benefit the most? Nope. So I do think it should be government, only because of the fact that there's an option that a normal person can have an effect on that versus having an effect on a company is almost impossible, because we already know people are not going to withhold their money for a product. They're not going to. If people stopped paying for the internet for a month, that would be pretty devastating to costs. Just 1 month, if literally everybody in a city stopped, but they couldn't do it. They wouldn't, because they would find. I mean, we actually could. People actually could. We literally do not need the internet. We could go back to postal. You have to just prep for it, like anything else. You just have to prepare. Like GPS in the cars. We don't need that, but a lot of people probably think, oh man, I could never go without it. Yes, you could. Or a cell phone. A cell phone, you absolutely can do it. But it's the difficulty, it's the ease, of access is what it is, and what it allows you to do. But we could do it. We could do it. If you imagine if people did not pay for net for 1 month, that would be a massive fucking chunk. 2 months, oh my god, 3 months, they would be like, okay, what do we do? What do we need to do here? So
I mean, that's like saying, to say you can't exist without the internet or your cell phone. Let's just say that something like the technology we've been relying on for years to make all these different things run, there was a humongous flaw in it. And everything just gradually just started shutting down quickly, one by one. We're not going to stop existing.
Correct.
We're going to find a way to make things happen. So, like you said, prepare yourself for it, and just say, we're not paying for that service.
Yeah, I grew up in a world without internet and without cell phones.
I did too.
Yeah, that's how I knew life.
In some instances, it was better for some people.
I agree. Cheaters. Well, those are always going to exist, and they know how to make alternate profiles. I'm a father and husband that has two Instagram accounts because reasons, But there's always going to be that. That's not. It's more. I think more of the less stress brought down on daily life from lack of hearing all these constant complaints. I mean, I don't have a high level way of saying it, but I think that's what Twitter can bring. Like, I mute some people now that I never would have bothered before, because I just don't want to hear it. And I've heard some people say, well, that's just because you're getting older. And as you get older, you start realizing, you know what? I actually don't need to hear from these people anymore. So you start secluding yourself because you realize I don't actually have to deal with that. I thought I used to think I did, but I don't.
Interesting that you bring up older people, and I don't mean old as in old people, but just older people.
Yeah.
You'll find that there are some older people like Dave Chappelle, comedian, doesn't use social media.
Right. Yep.
He has no Twitter account.
Mark Maron got rid of his Twitter. Yep.
Yeah, and guess what? He's one of the most successful people out there. He's doing great.
Yep. Mark Maron too.
So so it's like you don't really need it.
Yep.
It's very convenient. It's useful, but you could exist without it.
It's correct. Yeah, I considered dumping it for that, and then I was like, you know what? No, I think there are measures that I can take instead of before getting that far, because I'm not getting the level of criticism that those guys would. They would hear way worse because there are targets. They'd have people fucking with them all the time. I just preferred not to see things in feeds. That's why I stopped logging into Twitter. I mean, Facebook years ago. I'll log in there every once in a while now, but it's so rare. It's probably maybe once a month. I probably have gone 6 months easily without touching it. But as business-related things that I need to do and contacts that I have, I probably would go in there. Regardless, yes, there's ways we could do things without, but that's regulation. I think that would have to go through government, but people could then vote on stuff, and then you talk about how the politician getting paid on the table in order to have stuff tweaked for businesses, and that's true too. But that's where you have government to regulate government too. So it's just checks and balances and all that stuff. I'm just saying that at least you can affect it as a normal human being, versus with a company, it would take either getting in there and turning the company around yourself, creating an alternate company and dealing with all the bullshit of the competition that has to come from it, or going out there and harassing your congressman or whatever it is and getting the vote. So it's not easy either way. But it's easier, I think, if it's government regulated, because that's technically the people running it.
Yep.
Word.
I only had one other topic.
Sure.
Which is one that I know Graham was kind of interested to hear about.
Titties.
And it was about
independent
titties in there. Who knows? But it was about indie games being too damn cheap.
Oh, right.
And it was something about, it was an article where they talked to this guy from Steam Spy. I guess he's the guy who owns Steam Spy, Sergey. Let me see if I get this last name right. Galyonkin.
I'm
good. I'm gonna guess that's how it's pronounced. I'm just breaking it down into syllables.
Galifianakis, it is. Serge is what I'll call him.
But he was saying that this week the average cost of an indie title in 2017 was $8.72.
I was gonna guess $7. Cool.
Very close. So he said, but even worse, during this last summer sale, the price dipped down to $4.63.
Yeah.
And he's trying to figure out how can you sustain yourself on such low prices? So you're saying that it's not a sustainable market, and that you need to accept that selling hundreds or thousands of a copy is not being unsuccessful as an indie developer. But at the same time, if you're going to sell those amounts, your prices need to be a little bit, your prices can't be as cheap as they're selling them for, because some indie titles go significantly cheap. And I mean, they start really cheap and then they discount them if you buy them early. So he was saying that you shouldn't even do that. He's trying to say that you need to value your product more as an indie developer. Don't think because you're an indie that AAA title could sell their game for this price and you have to sell it for less. And
sounds like he makes indie games and he's trying to raise the profit for himself, which is not bad.
Or maybe he's invested in a few indie developers and doing that. But he was applauding a guy named Jonathan Blow. Who created that game, The Witness, and was selling it for $39.99 as opposed to, like maybe $20 or $15.
Right.
And he says right now that that title has sold 460,000 copies on Steam.
Yeah.
And he said, that's also with, some discounts, and the discounts were as low as like $20, $19.99. And he's saying that, do you honestly think that he would have sold 4 times or 6 times the amount if you charge $9.99 or $10 to start from that title, as opposed to selling it at a price that's a bit more reasonable for the amount of cost and effort that you put into it? I thought it was quite interesting too, because I do see some indie titles and I'm thinking, are these guys actually making money from this?
Yeah.
It is interesting. I found it interesting because usually for me, a lot of indie titles I still think are overpriced for what value I put on them. But I generally, if you looked at all the games I've ever played and all the games that I've usually like and stick with versus play and like get rid of, the less played or less interest usually is more indie, whereas the opposite is more AAA. That's just who I am. So for me, the amount of indie games that I've played that I have both enjoyed and praise, very few. And so usually if I see a game and it usually is an indie game, I'm usually I'm not paying more than $10 for it in my brain, unless it looks really, really good, or I get a taste of it and I'm like, you know what, this is really good, then it's worth it. But so that's why I was real interested in it, because I am usually the person that is way more sticklery when it comes to indie stuff.
So then my thing that I tossed it in on what this guy had said too is, no, you got a company like Ninja Theory that does the same, that does Hellblade. That's an indie title, but they're saying they want to make it like a AAA title, but then they don't want to sell it for that. They want to sell it for $30
because they're technically AAA. I think they're AAA development before, as far as games. I think their games didn't do too well. They didn't do amazingly. The other ones that they had released, I can't remember the titles of them. So I don't know if they were ever that level of success, but they're not indie as far as developers concerned. They're pretty good.
Yeah, they're not. I mean, they probably are probably AA or something like that. In that,
I don't even know how to gauge that shit.
Yeah. Somewhere in the between.
It is
there you go. DMC Devil May Cry. That's a AAA technically. Heavenly Sword. I think that's sold as a AAA. That's all I really know from the list.
Yeah. But I mean, at the same time, too, you still have companies like Microsoft and Sony supporting indie titles on their platform, pushing indie titles and giving them funding to make it exclusive on their platform.
Right.
So, it's not like there's not a market. There is a market for indie, but should they be charging more? I just curious as to what you guys were thinking about it, because indie can compete with AAA or AA or whatever, or
right. It's like any other product or service to me. Like, this is an old story to me. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
In the sense that
my other question too would be like, you think $60? Do you think you should be paying $60 for some AAA titles that just don't even feel like they're worth that amount?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, but like I said, and Graham hit on it too, because it's what I refer to as like entertainment / experience or whatever. It's subjective. Now, can you take objective looks at these? Absolutely. You can say, do the mechanics properly function? Is the music of a level of quality that matches music for this cost or whatever? But you would have to know enough about music to tell whether or not it's actually good quality music, like on an objective level, not on a I like it level. And this is really hard stuff to do. So I still relate it back to any service or product that's ever been sold ever. And I tie it back to web development because that's what I do. People look at like, well, how much is a website worth? Well, anybody could do it, right? Or you can go to Squarespace, or you can go to Wix or whatever and get... Wix does it for free. Why would you ever pay for it? Squarespace has got really sleek themes and all that, and the cost is not bad. Why would I even bother hiring a developer? This looks pretty good. And I agree with that too. Like, I even wrote at my old company one time kind of like a sarcastic piece about like, why not Squarespace? It was intended to say what you get from a custom boutique shop versus what you would get from it's a McDonald's assembly line. You just choose which bun you want and which hamburger patty size or square or circle, whatever, that kind of thing. Custom shop would do exactly what you need based on what you want and give you insight into what you're missing as well. Whereas when you go with something like Squarespace, it's all you, man. Good luck. So, just go. It's like going to a buffet. Put all the shit together. You're good to go. So, versus having a personal chef, that's the difference. So, indie, I see. Yeah, it's very subjective. I don't know. You pay what you feel. I think. I mean, I think that those developers should have some responsibility in, their pricing. But like any creative that makes things, they find it hard to price their own things as well.
Yeah.
You have to know your market.
For me personally, it all comes down to budget. Like
absolutely,
budget. It doesn't matter if you want to sell your game for $60. Hey, go ahead. I'm not gonna buy it because I can't afford to buy it at $60. Right. So I'm gonna wait for a sale. So, but I think
now if you had unlimited money, Phil.
Oh, but then they probably would buy it at $60 because it wouldn't matter for me.
Right. When I was working my job and I had basically what amounts to an unlimited budget, I didn't mind paying $100 for a copy of Rainbow Six Siege. Right now, I would be like, man, that's going to be great to play in like 9 months to 5 years.
Yep.
So I think everything has well, I don't think. Market, it's a business thing. There is a place for everything in the market, and you have to find that place as the developer. Indie found that we don't charge the overhead of marketing and advertising, so that's a cost that we don't have to actually include into the games. Plus, because we don't have marketing or advertising other than ourselves, we have to lower our expectations of what we actually think we're going to pull in, because we don't really know. Unless they have a lot of experience in the industry and a lot of contacts and they have a pretty good idea of what the cost is going to be. At that case, if they have enough knowledge, they have to determine when they're going to put that out, what it's going up against. There's so many factors to pricing things,
Yeah. I think at the end of the day, too, the consumer's response to that is going to come down to, like how we said, perception. Because like my other perception, too, is why am I paying $60 for a game and I'm not getting it in a box and a hard copy of it? And a manual, and not like if I go into store and buy this game, I can buy this game at the same price as it costs me to just get a digital code, So I get a lot more with this other thing. this physical copy.
Yep.
But with the digital copy, I'm getting none of that. Why am I paying the same price? So I can think of it that way. Then some people may say, well, you could pay for that convenience. You don't have to go into the store, man. I'm like, nah, that's bullshit.
Right.
There's so much different perceptions that are tossed around in it that I think is going to be like how you perceive your game, how you think is best to price your game by the end of the day. Because some indie games could sell for $40, and some I don't think could ever sell for $40.
I find the idea of the pricing for No Man's Sky to be an endless little fun thing for me to turn over in my head. I think about it all the time because it's such a psychological piece. They never back down for their price. I think they finally did for a sale, but how long was that? Over a year? I mean,
yeah.
This is a game that traditionally, if those kinds of cock-ups is not even, had gone on, people did give them all of the business and they didn't budge on their price. That's an indie game technically. So, but here's another thing too. This is what I like thinking about this because there's so many factors. Maybe they couldn't because of Microsoft, right? Or no, Sony, because of Sony. Mm-hmm. Maybe they couldn't budge on the price, So there's all these little things when I think about No Man's Sky and you look at their current state of what people feel about them, it's positive right now. Because they've been doing the right things. They just kept their head down and kept developing and doing the right things. The problem is in the overall scope, people should not have a positive perception of them. But they're thinking in the moment, of like, oh, wow, these are really good updates. I really like... No. This is the person that stabbed you last year. Okay? This is... but that healed up, and right now they're actually petting my head really nicely, and I like that. What? No. They stabbed you, you idiot. Okay? You don't just give that up and just say, oh, this is great. No. You don't have such a short memory. On the other hand, you could be a live in the moment kind of person, live and let die kind of thing, and that's probably better too. But if you're the game... I speak to the idea that gamers want things to change but don't do the things that require change. And this is one of those examples. That's why I say no one should really talk well about No Man's Sky, unless you were in on it day one, and in that case you're a fanatic, and I immediately take anything you say and put it in the garbage because you're crazy, because you're just crazy, because you're taking. Guy raises his hand. I will never strike anyone that strikes me first. And somebody comes up, oh, okay, slaps in their face, and the guy suplexes him. What in the fuck No, he lied to you, see? He just lied to you. He said he was never gonna, but you're okay with that? Well, he said he would never strike me. He technically suplexed me. Oh, my God. You're crazy. Yes, you're crazy. So those people are fucking fanatic. They're fanatics, yes.
Also, denial is a very strong thing. Denial is a real strong thing too.
Yeah.
You spend $60 on that game and it's and you just say, nope.
Yeah, it is. Have you seen that shit? That shit doesn't even go the normal direction. That shit flows north.
It's the I bought the very expensive thing, so I'm never going to talk badly about the thing that I spend a lot of money on because that makes me look like a fucking idiot. Yes.
Yep.
I understand that. Yes.
Speaking of things that are need and changes and things and stuff with and Sony, so they gave information about their 5.0 system update, which normally I'm like, system update, things are different, whatever, blah, blah. So, but there's two things that caught my eye in it. The two parts that didn't was they're like, we're doing all this stuff with friends and whatever and updating that. I'm like, oh, cool. So finally you're doing stuff that you should have done 2 years ago that I'm used to on other platforms that don't exist yet. Cool. Thanks, Sony, once again, catching up. But the other two things that are interesting is they are doing some stuff with their broadcasting through the system, the console, which I don't do, but I know lots of people do. With 5.0, the Pro PS4 Pro will be able to stream in 1080p and 60 frames per second if their connection can, do it. But it's pretty cool. And what I thought was really neat, and I know somebody from my community, Baba Charles is what he goes by,
was really excited about this, but I was like, whatever. But then, you know, I was reading and I was like thinking about it. I was like, some people really would have found this. So PSVR users will be able to see messages and comments coming through while broadcasting. So like you're streaming a VR game. Somebody is like, holy shit, that's cool. You actually see it, so you don't have to like disengage from the content to look at chat.
Oh yeah, I remember him saying that in chat.
Yeah. So that's where this comes from, is the update 5.0. But yeah, and then PSVR is adding 5.1 and 7.1 channel virtual sound support as well, which is, you know, neat, I guess. But yeah, so some pretty interesting like broadcasting things and VR things related to that, which is kind of neat. And then the part that I also thought was interesting is something that I made fun of in my notes. They're allowing a complicated like family-based system within this. So if you're like a parent, whatever, and you're like, I want to put restrictions on different childs and whatever, and have different people and I'm the guardian and whatever, blah, blah. So they have all those fancy complications that parents can do and whatever. But Sony notes that the first time any North American user tries to set up an adult account, they will be charged 50 cents to verify that you are an adult. They will be charged 50 cents to verify that you are an adult, because no teenager has ever figured out how to pay money, ever.
Or how to like, hey,
so if you have 50 cents that you know how to charge, we know you're an adult.
Yep. Yeah, not only that, but grabbing like
so children card. If you know how to utilize, you know, systems on technology, which you probably do more than your parents, you can be an adult for 50 cents, according to Sony.
It's just gonna, like, children are gonna be even better at pickpocketing now. Just,
exactly, right?
I need that fucking debit card, Mom, you bitch. I'll
give it to me.
Sleeping.
And some fucking chocolate milk, you whore.
Exactly.
I need to be an adult. Sony said I need 50 cents to be an adult, so I'm paying them 50 cents, but it's from your card.
It's true.
So yeah. But
I wonder if that's refundable, at least. I'm sure it is, right? It's like they just do the charge and then charge back.
I would hope so.
Yeah,
otherwise it's just silly.
Like really, really nickel dime type thing.
I know, right?
Yeah, because why 50 cents? Just a cent, like anyone else that does it. It's like, I need to test to see if this transaction will go through.
But I just like very similar to how like PayPal, where you send out the PayPal account, where they charge you charge like $1 or something like that.
Yeah. Exactly.
To make sure things work.
That's your card.
Yeah. It's just
and then you say, okay, cool, this is the number.
But yeah, that made me giggle on the inside. I was like, oh shit. Ooh, verify I'm an adult if I can give you 50 cents. So 50 cents equals the charge to be an adult. Confirmed through Sony.
Now you know. Start drinking, kids. I mean, you're an adult. 50 cents. There you go. You can do whatever you want. Go bang and drink at the same time and drive.
Drink bang.
That's all at the same time.
There's a lot worse things you could do with 50 cents. I'm just saying.
All those three things that I said that you should do at the same time, you should not be doing if you're a child.
The B3 GamingCast does not condone any of these combined activities if you are under the age.
Yeah. Well, Sony does, though. Sony is all for it if you've got 50
Sony
cents.
is ready to just get behind you and support you in your adulthood for 50 cents.
Maybe is that why they call it the 5.0 system? Just move that decimal 50 cent system. Oh, God. Sony 50 cent system.
Yeah. And if you try to escape it by putting on your VR, you're going to see messages anyway, so you can't.
Yeah. We see what you're doing. No one can see what I'm doing with my dick while the VR is on, right?
To go back to that same VR thing, though, that's just to show you how knowledgeable that Sony is in terms of that market and where they can dominate that VR market. Like you were saying, Janza, the other day when we were talking, they're just doing all the little bits of things there that ties directly.
I almost don't give any shit about VR, but I am way more impressed with Sony VR than anything else.
Well, it's like Phil just said, they do everything to tie
everything. Everything, yeah.
They make it easy for you.
Exactly.
Oh, shit, it's true.
Especially if you're an adult and you have 50 cents.
A company that's been around that long, they are masters of manipulation. It's true.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's all my things.
Yeah, me too.
50 cents to be an adult.
Yeah. One other thing I had was brief mention of the Blizzard app is going back to Battle.net. But it's not just Battle.net, it's Blizzard Battle.net. So yeah, it's like, all right, we'll give it to you, but you're still calling it Blizzard. You know, it's kind of, I was just, I just thought that was hilarious. Just call it Battle.net.
Blizzard.net. Blizzard.net.
That's a clear indication of people just being disconnected with their audience.
Well, with their own brand. It's really what they don't even know their brand, apparently. So please explain that one more time. That sounded too convoluted. I was trying to... So they're not going to back to Blizzard Battle.net is what they're going to call themselves?
Basically,
Blizzard
it was Battle.net.
Yes.
Then they wanted to call it the Blizzard app.
The Blizzard app, yes.
They even flubbed that during the when the
Destiny 2
presenter for Destiny 2 called it. You can go to Battle.net.
The preview footage, right?
Yeah. And they wanted to push this Blizzard app. Everybody was like, we don't like this shit. So
I was one of those assholes that was like, it's called Blizzard app. It's not. They changed that. Huh? No.
So now they're saying, all right, you know what? We're gonna change it back to Battle.net, but it's Blizzard Battle.net.
Yeah. Okay. So it was what I. Yeah. Okay.
I was just like,
Blizzard decides it's still Battle.net, but Blizzard.
Yeah, it just feels so childish and stupid on both ends. It's like, it just.
You guys don't have anything better to do with yourselves. And you know, the shitty thing is all that marketing stuff got done. Some guy or gal had to pump out graphics for the Blizzard app, and they had to go make changes in documentation and all that. They're like, oh, we got to do it again. We did it 2 live last time. A little less live this time.
Yeah.
Wow, that's somebody's 95.
But no, it's I don't know if you check the app now, but it actually has like Blizzard and then Activision, and you see Destiny 2 on the Activision now. So it's
I didn't check, but I heard.
Yeah. So everything is kind of getting integrated. So people are saying, this probably means that, Call of Duty games are probably going to go into the Activision section. I'm like, hey, it's business, it's money. Why wouldn't they do it? Expect it.
I hate this. I have Keep Me Logged In checked. It says your login has expired. Please log in. Fuck you. I'm not gonna log in ever then.
That's right. Just for the Blizzard. Sorry, the Blizzard Battle.
Maybe Blizzard's fault is that they're not confirming that you're an adult. Maybe they should charge you 50 cents.
That's what they. Why can't they just charge me 50 cents like Sony?
See, then they'll know you're an adult, and then you won't have any issues. They'll let you through.
Clearly, this belongs to me because I paid you 50 cents.
It's right.
Hey, when I signed into it today, because I actually got a key today, so that I could actually go into the Destiny beta from day one, like from the 29th, as opposed to the day after. Yeah. Somebody had a bunch of keys, and they were like, "Hey, anybody want them?" I was like, "Yeah, I'll take one."
They probably were at GameStop ripping them off, assholes. I don't know. Hey, I'm kidding. Good.
But when I went in, I had to use the phone verification to get into it because I haven't used it in probably months or something. So
yeah, I can't log in. I'm probably streaming my login right now. I don't even realize it.
Yeah, I have no issues with that though, because any little extra step of verification stopping somebody from stealing my account, I'm cool with that.
Yeah.
Okay. That's it.
We did it.
That was absolutely not what I wanted. It's close to 3 hours, 2 hours and 40. When I said an hour, I didn't mean triple down, guys. I'm to blame too. I just don't shut my mouth, so I'm sorry. Okay.
Yeah. It's your fault.
Next week is that the last week or is it?
Yeah. Next week, just a reminder, it'll be the last podcast for a while until whatever, or maybe forever. Who knows? Doesn't matter. It's not. What's that?
And that's because after a 69, there's always at least one extra courtesy reach around.
There you go. That's the answer. The answer you've all been looking for. I hope he paid you 50 cents.
That's yeah. Either two of those is going to be the name of this podcast, this particular episode.
I missed out. You'll have to tell me what it was. I'm ready to leave.
Yeah, and next week you're only allowed to bring one topic. It's going to be
50 cents for a reach around of adulthood.
Something like that. All right, we're out of here.
Adios, everybody.
Later.
Thanks, guys, like usual. Thank you, everyone, for the support. I do definitely mean that. It's been great. And next, podcast 70, we're going to answer the question that has been on everyone's mind, and no one has an answer. We're going to solve this next podcast. All right. We're out.